and has the name Jesse tattooed on his neck. Webster County Crime Stoppers is offering a $750 reward for information leading to his arrest. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 515-573-1444. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. We'll see mostly sunny skies this afternoon, high into the upper 80s. Winds out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies develop, a low near 64. By Wednesday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy high of 75 degrees. And Thursday, mostly sunny, high around 76. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 81.
She seems happier. Her fur is so much shinier, silkier, softer. She has really mellowed a lot.
Sheba is 105 lean pounds of shiny, smooth, happy dog for life.
The shedding has stopped. The itching has stopped.
Since 2001, we've helped more than 250,000 dogs get over their nutritional deficiency miseries.
And saved our customers bazillions in vet bills.
Everything we tried failed except the Dynovite.
Come to Dynovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
If you want the dog to be healthy, you got to feed it something healthy.
The omega-3 fatty acids,
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa,
the digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Dynovite for life.
Don't let your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy.
Come to Dynovite for help.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
When is a pencil more than a pencil? When it takes me from art class
to gallery walls worldwide. Staples is your back-to-school destination. Find all the supplies and inspiration you need. Come in store this week for great deals under $1. Now, Staples one-subject notebooks are just 25 cents each, and 2 pocket paper folders are only 15 cents each. Staples, back to school and beyond. In-store only. Offer ends 8/24/19. Limit 5 on paper folders, limit 30 on notebooks, while supplies last.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at jmike1400.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. Truth is, it's getting pretty hot and muggy out there. Nasty storm last night. I don't know how many of you heard that lightning blast about 20 minutes after 3, but it got me out of bed, I'll tell you. It got me completely out of bed. Roger Porter, did you hear that?
I did hear it. It didn't take me long to get back to sleep, but it scared the heck out of me.
Oh, yeah, it did. I'm not usually afraid. I've been through so many summer storms in my life that usually if I hear one crack like that, I just, okay. Then I go back to sleep. But, man, I bolted last night for some reason.
They don't usually even wake me up, but that one did.
Yeah, I think we had some flashes in the house, too, it seems to me. So, yeah, I was able to get back to sleep. But, yeah, that was a good old summer thunderstorm. And I don't know what I was thinking of. I just got in the habit of it all summer long to leave my windows about an inch open. And I didn't use my garage last night, so the inside of my car was all wet.
Oh, no.
Well, that's the way I go. We welcome back to the program Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter, who's been out a month, I suppose, at least not on this show.
Right.
For a month. You had surgery.
I just had a little minor knee surgery just to clean out some gunk.
Clean out some stuff. Did you hurt your knee earlier in life, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've had them done a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, just from wear and tear on them, doing sports and things like that, and had that ACL done a couple years ago when we were doing the big old firefighter PD flag football game, our first contest that we had, and I tore my ACL doing that.
Oh, you're kidding?
No.
Now that you mentioned, I did hear that.
Yeah, something stupid. That wasn't even during the game. That was during the warm-up practice beforehand. So. And I didn't even get hit. I was just running out for a pass. So
sure,
it's one of those things where you got to, at this age, you got to start stretching about 45 minutes before the games or any activity starts, and I didn't do that. So
I'll tell you, Roger, as a man older than you are, it doesn't get any better at all. I'm fighting the battle of the bulge. I'm on a weight loss campaign, and I've been successful. I've lost about 10 pounds.
That's good.
But diet and exercise is the key, of course. And the diet is hard enough, but that exercise, boy, I can do it. But and I have been doing it, and I'll be grateful when I get to my goal. But yeah, it's a difficult thing to do.
Takes a lot of dedication and self-motivation, that's for sure, because it's really easy just to say, screw it today, I'm just going to sit on the couch. But
boy, I'll tell you, Tom Brands, my little grandson is in the Eastern Iowa Wrestling Club, and Tom Brands talks to those kids down there, and he's even on YouTube. And what he says is, wrestling is 90% mental, in that you have to make a decision every day if you're going to get up and work or you're just going to sit on the couch.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit on the couch, you're not going to make it, not even close. You're not going to make it in wrestling or anything else.
Yeah.
And, he said that to a bunch of younger kids, but it struck me hard as well that that's absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
It's you have to have some sort of personal discipline and desire.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm fighting with that.
It's tough. It's tough.
Frankly, I'm fighting it.
I think you're in the majority, I think, honestly, because I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Anyway, if you have a question or comment for Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter, it's 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. We have some guy running around stealing cars.
Yeah, we put a press release out, I believe it was yesterday, regarding that. We had a run-in with him over the weekend where he was identified in a stolen vehicle out east of town, and luckily he went out of town when we tried to stop him and did not go back into town where it caused more danger. Kind of a little more open out there. But ended up going over towards Highway 17, and he ran the car into a bean field and was able to get out on foot and get into the tall corn, and we just couldn't locate him. We spent a number of hours out there with the State Patrol and all the agencies over in that area trying to find him. But
you can't find him out there if he's determined not to be found out there.
And this is the second time within the past couple of weeks that we've had a run-in with him. I know the county had spotted him in a stolen vehicle outside of town, and the same thing. He took off. He's one of those guys that's just going to take off, and he doesn't care who he puts in danger or anybody else. And unfortunately, we're trying to get the public's help, and that's why we put the press release out, try to get his face out there. So anybody that has information, let us know. It'd be nice to try to get him before he gets in the car, because we know he's going to run. None of us like to have to chase cars or anything like that, and we have strict requirements on that. But when it's somebody this dangerous out there that needs to get off the street, then we'd like to try to get the public's help to get this guy taken care of. And he's been causing problems between here and all the way down Ames, Nevada area. So.
What is his background? Is he been convicted of criminal offenses in the
past? I haven't looked at his criminal history. I know he's been in and out of the system, but I haven't looked at his criminal history just to see exactly what he's been.
I just wonder what the constant joyriding is about. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I've been doing this for almost 25 years, and to sit here and try to ask yourself why, it's kind of hard for people like you and I that follow the rules, But
but you can usually see a motive. I mean, I don't think like this, but. Hi there, I'm a criminal, I need money, what am I going to do? I'm going to rob somebody. Yeah. Or I want this, I want that, so I'm going to take action to get it. But this guy's, a man in his 30s who's joyriding.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So, he does have...
Bradley Bauman is his name. Bradley, if you're listening to me, straighten up and fly right and come in and do your time and stop riding around in cars. It's getting you nowhere.
And like I said, he's putting people's lives in danger, it's not driving that reckless and stupid. So
you wonder how he's supporting himself out there.
Yeah, who knows?
He's got to eat. And he's got to stay someplace. He just can't stay outside all the time.
Yeah, and we've been doing some background and trying to do some investigating on it and trying to find out who he's connected to here in town and things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously he's got connections here, otherwise he wouldn't be here.
That's right.
Same as in Nevada, which I believe that's where he's from, over in that area. So we've been working with those departments that have had contact with him here lately, and then trying to put the pressure on, trying to get him picked up. So
yeah, he would be up here because he knew people, I suppose. Right. Do you know if he has relatives here or just?
We're looking into a lot of different avenues right now. We know he has contacts here, and we have an idea who a lot of those contacts are. So
this is just crazy. This is just another crazy story. Especially like this when they're. Do you suspect him in any other crimes, or is he suspected of any other crimes?
Well, he's suspected of some crimes over in Nevada that we're aware of, as well, the contact that he's had with us here. I think it was just 2 weeks ago the county had him out in the county and ended up trying to stop him, and he did the exact same thing, ran it into a field and ended up getting away into the corn. And
Well, congratulations, Bradley. You ran it into a field and had to hide out in corn.
2 for right now.
In hot weather. Man, you got... Jail can't be that bad, Bradley. Come on, man. Come on. You listening? Jail can't be that bad. Get in there and, do your time and get out and, get a life and stuff. Yeah, here's some pictures of him in the Fort Dodge Messenger.
Yep.
He has Jesse tattooed along the right side of his neck and some sort of lettering. I looked at that a good portion of the morning. I couldn't figure out what it said. But anyway, yeah, he's a bald guy. Looks like he's well into his 30s. And with these tattoos, Jesse on his neck, that's when it's hard to hide this time of year.
Yeah, and if anybody sees him, please, let us know. Call the LAC, or you can do the text tip-soft in through the Crime Stoppers, and we'll get the information there. Or I've actually had a couple people contacting over Facebook. So best if you see him if you see him now, call into the LAC now, so we don't monitor the Facebook messages all the time. We might see those an hour or so after it's
Yeah, you got to
posted.
make a call.
So if you see him now, call in now, and you can still remain anonymous. Just give us the information. If he's in a car or he's with somebody, try to get as much description information that you can give us as possible, direction of travel, things like that.
Yeah.
What he's wearing, if he's with somebody who, what they look like, what they're wearing, etc. So.
Well, we just got to have an early harvest. He'll fake him out.
Yeah. Well, in another month or so, we won't have to worry about the tall corn, I guess. So.
No, we won't. But he will.
Yeah.
He will. I mean,
fortunately.
How many times can he pull this stuff? I mean, he's just racking up charges.
He is.
Just to ride around in stolen cars.
Yeah. Well, getting him off the street before he hurts or kills somebody is our primary goal right now.
Yeah.
So.
Is he a crazy driver out there?
Yeah.
No.
They all are.
Yeah.
Anytime you get into that type of situation, it's a crazy driving situation, and something we try to avoid as much as possible. But it's our job to try to get the bad guys off the street.
Yeah. What can you do?
Causing a lot of problems, so.
Do the officers at the Fort Dodge Police Department, do they have special training on how to stop somebody that's doing
at
these
the academy, when they go to the academy, they get tactical driving situations and things like that as part of their training, and then we have a certified defensive driving instructor here within our department, and we hit on that during our annual training that we have in-house. We'll do out and go to out of Harlan Rogers. We use the parking lot out there and stuff like that, big open parking lot, try to work on some different tactics and things like that, and our officers are expected to know the law, which they do. As far we still have to be safe and prudent. We're not out there just going crazy either.
I was going to say, I want to bring this up to you. A number of years ago, the police just chased these guys.
Yeah.
And I remember on television and newspapers, magazines, there were some situations where the bad guy was caught, but only because he ran into a car with people in it, or some cases, the police car got out of control and hit somebody, and it wasn't good.
No. No.
And the decision was made by a lot of cities that we can't have these high-speed chases in our town. Some of these guys were running over a parking ticket.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense. It was on the guy that took off with the parking ticket, of course. But the end result was somebody got killed, and the guy had a parking ticket outstanding or some stupid thing like that. Just got in his head to run, and somebody got really badly hurt, if not killed.
Yeah.
So what's the policy here in Fort Dodge?
Well, we have policies and procedures on when to terminate a pursuit. We never ever, if the officer for whatever reason terminates a pursuit, then that officer's right every single time. We don't question why. And they do a good job. Our supervisors do a good job of monitoring any time that there's a chase and calls it off when needed. Especially when you get into town, you get outside of town, there's not as many houses or many people out there when it goes outside the city limits. But we try to be cognizant of that. A lot of it depends on what, did the guy just rob somebody or is it a parking ticket like you're saying? And there's a lot of times we don't know. If somebody's running, you assume it's for something. You don't know whether he or she just committed a major crime that we're just not aware of yet, and then they're taken off. So it's a lot of it's based on what you know at that time. And like I said, our officers have a good head on their shoulders. They've been doing a good job. We've had a number of them that they start and take off, and they'll call them off based on whatever reasoning that they have at that time. Supervisors do a good job of monitoring that and making sure we be cognizant of the public and the safety of the public, and as well as the officers.
course, I live over by Corpus Christi Church, just a couple blocks north of here. And I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before that I was just getting into my car, and another car came kind of over the hill over there by Old North Junior High and down 4th Avenue North. There's a little incline there towards Corpus Christi. He was flying at a pretty good rate of speed, and I recognized the driver as a kid that played with my son when we were little.
Oh, really?
He's a good kid, yeah. And here came the police SUV right after him, and they chased around for a little bit. I understood that the guy ran up on a guy wire or something and was caught. But
there's nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go, yeah.
Just wait it out.
Yeah. He just got up there and got out of the car, and I don't know whatever he was charged with, but I know he struggled in his adult life, and that's too bad because he was a pretty good little kid. He was a pretty good kid. But
well, it's a situation we don't ever want to be in.
No, who does?
Unfortunately, it happens, and I guess if the world was perfect, we wouldn't be here right
now. Boy, that's the truth. Yeah, oh gosh, I hate to see those things. I hate to see anybody get hurt out there, and I hope this guy here apparently doesn't care. So that's a reason.
That's very apparent. He's very reckless and doesn't care. So
I think the decent people of the world, which I would include myself among, no matter what others say, I think that we need to do our due diligence, pay close attention, and assist the police in arresting a man who may not think he's dangerous, but he certainly is dangerous.
He's dangerous.
He's dangerous. Anything else we got going on, Roger?
I don't think so. I think just kind of status quo, kind of getting ready for school and
all
stuff
right.
like that. So.
Oh, gosh, when is that? Next Tuesday?
I think St. Ed starts this Friday, and then we start next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, St. Ed's is Friday?
I think so.
Okay, it's coming up. Yeah,
everything's within the next 2 weeks. But
yeah, right. AM 1400 KVFD, good afternoon. You're on the air with the Chief.
Yes, Chief. I was wondering, how's the Citizens Academy going? Does it look like it's going to be a go?
I believe it is. I know we had a number of people that wanted on last year, so we had some on the waiting list, and I think the deadline... Did you fill one out? I think the deadline's this week, or maybe it was Friday. I can't remember.
Yeah, I've already filled it out. I just filled it out once for a summer class, and that one got canceled.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough participation, so I was wondering if we're going to get enough this time.
Yeah, I think we're going to be fine this time. So it seems to fill up. The fall one fills up well.
Yeah.
It's the spring one that's tough to fill up. That's why we went down to the one. So I think we're going to be good. So.
Do you know, do you remember when the deadline is? I'd sign up. I screwed up again and forgot.
It was either last Friday or this Friday. I can't recall.
It's on the Fort Dodge.
Yeah.
It's on what, the Facebook page, Fort Dodge Police?
Yeah.
Do you remember, caller?
I don't know. All I know is it starts September 10th through the 29th of October.
I think I was in the very first one when Carmody was here.
Yeah, I think you were.
All right. Hey, thanks for your call.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
All right, Chief Porter, thank you very much for being
Thanks,
here.
Mike.
Yeah, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Steve Peterson coming up.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Take control of your tarp and upgrade your manual tarp system to electric with a Rolltech electric tarp conversion by AgriCover Inc. Save time and increase productivity by tarping on the go. This system operates with the convenient push of a button, keeping your driver inside the cab and out of dust, rain, and harm's way. Upgrade your existing tarp to electric today to stay protected, clean, and on schedule. For more information or to find a dealer near you, call 1-800-233-4655 or visit rolltechelectric.com.
Your news, your town.
Your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Manager David Feerick was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Devine. When asked about the city's upcoming plans in terms of broadband, Feerick had this to say.
Part of the agenda for next Monday, a resolution will put a question on a November ballot. Ask the question, should the city have the authority to establish a municipal broadband and telecommunications utility? So it'll go on the ballot for a referendum, so people get a vote on whether the city should have the authority to establish a utility. We're going to have that council consider that resolution, and that would put something on a November ballot. And if it passes, then the city does have the authority.
Feerick went on to explain the three options the city has going forward in terms of broadband.
We're still looking at three options. One option is creating the municipal utility, but before we get to that option, we're going to look at whether one of our incumbent providers is willing to either partner with the city or engage in creating a robust broadband system, not just for now but in the future. And if that doesn't work, there are interested competitive companies who would be new to the area that have already shown interest in Fort Dodge now that we're doing this pre-feasibility study, that would come in and be like a third broadband provider. And if either of those two options don't work, then the city has the final option of building its own system.
Fort Dodge police are trying to find a suspect they think is responsible for multiple car thefts. The suspect is 34-year-old Bradley Bauman Jr., who allegedly led the police on a chase early Sunday morning after officers spotted a vehicle that had been reported stolen in the area of North 32nd Street and 2nd Avenue North a little after 7 a.m. Sunday. The vehicle had been involved in a pursuit the night before in Story County. When officers tried to stop the vehicle, the driver, who they believe was Bauman, fled law enforcement in the vehicle northbound from Fort Dodge before driving into a field just off of Highway 17. Bauman is described as a 5'9" Caucasian male weighing around 250 pounds and has the name Jesse tattooed on his neck. Webster County Crime Stoppers is offering a $750 reward for information leading to his arrest. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 515-573-1444. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 5.5 cents to close at $3.59.5. December down 5 3/4 at $3.68 3/4. March down 5 3/4 at $3.81 1/4. May down 5.5 cents at $3.88 3/4. September soybeans up 1 3/4 at $8.55 3/4. November up 1 3/4 cents at $8.68 1/4. January up 1.5 pennies at $8.82. March up 1.5 at $8.95 1/4. September wheat closed down 5.5 at $4.60. Soybean meal up $2 a ton at $2.94. August live cattle up $1.60 at $101.80. October up $1.77 at $100. August feeder cattle up 62 cents at $136.30. September up 90 cents at $133.72. October lean hogs up 95 cents at $64.97. December up $132 at $64.17. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 2:31, 29 minutes before 3 o'clock. Steve Peterson with the Farm Bureau coming up in just a few minutes. Let's look at the weather. First of all, it's going to get pretty hot this afternoon. That's no surprise, 82 degrees right now. It's going to be sunny this afternoon with a high in the upper 80s. Overnight, again, a chance of a thunderstorm. We had a pretty good thunderstorm overnight. Our low temperature overnight, 64 degrees. Some showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, which will make Steve Peterson happy. High 75. Thursday, sunny with a high of 76. Friday, sunny with a high of 77. Saturday, sunny with a high of 77. Sunday, a slight chance of a shower, high 82. And on Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 82. This is some of the coolest weather I've ever seen this time of year. Usually we're boiling, but I'll tell you, if it's just in the 70s and lower 80s the rest of the week and into next week, that's pretty good temperature. For human beings, anyway, maybe not the corn. 82 degrees right now. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Sean Manuel has died at the age of 51. Sean Manuel has passed away. Services for Sean Manuel are pending. Todd Sassman has died at the age of 60. There will be a private family service at a later date for Todd Sassman. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:33 and 82 degrees.
If you develop non-Hodgkin lymphoma after being regularly exposed to a weed killer for at least 2 years, you may qualify for a cash award. In some weed killers, the ingredient glyphosate may be linked to an increased risk of cancer. Landscapers, farmers, city and county workers, even home gardeners or people who live near areas where weed killers are often used may be at risk. If you are exposed to a weed killer and develop non-Hodgkin lymphoma, call now. Call 800-298-2025. That's 800-298-2025.
We stand for people, progress and pride.
We are the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we believe in nurturing our state's most precious resource, our children. That's why we provide millions of dollars in scholarships, grants, and resources to Iowa students and teachers. For more information, contact your local county farm bureau.
People, progress and pride, it's true. Iowa Farm Bureau's helping you.
Now, we've all heard this way too often.
Like car, but you must act now, because these deals won't last long.
If you're like me, when it comes to making a big purchase like buying a car, you don't want someone yelling a lot and pressuring you into getting something you can't afford. So I did my research.
For your next used vehicle, do your research and then head to Humboldt Motor Sales. The atmosphere is relaxing and they'll help you find the pre-owned vehicle of your dreams. So when people ask where you got your ride, the answer is simple. Humboldt Motor Sales or online at HumboldtGM.com.
Loffer-Swiler's Funeral Home understands that losing a loved one is one of the most difficult things you will ever experience. They understand that a family who has experienced the loss of a loved one needs immediate assistance that often can't wait until the next morning. Loffer-Swiler's is there in the darkest moment of a family's life, guiding them through the emotional roller coaster of saying goodbye. More importantly, the staff at Loffer-Swiler's listens and they care. Loffer-Swiler Funeral Home, Fort Dodge, serving families like yours since 1856.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at jmike1400.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and we are going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. Yeah. With me now is Steve Peterson of the Webster County Farm Bureau. He's past president of the Webster County Farm Bureau. And, of course, this portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Didn't see you down the state fair last week, buddy. It was a good one.
I've read that. I see they surpassed their attendance records, and it looked like a very good turnout from what I can see.
I was down there Friday, and I was there last Wednesday with the pork producers, and I was in the pork producers' tent being paid by the pork producers, interviewing two guys from the Cattlemen's Association. So all the farm organizations are working together, of course. But on Friday, it was especially heavy traffic. I thought I've been to the state fair many, many times, and I'd never seen that many people. But then I looked at the total attendance each day, and Friday really wasn't the day when most people were there.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that went to multiple day afternoons or nights for the concerts. I think they've really stepped up the entertainment level there, and it just overall looks like, and some of it could be too, how many days or soapboxes did the Democrats have down there too? So it was a very good opportunity if you're politically active to see a lot of these candidates. And
that's what really drew a lot of folks.
And they said it was the first time in that Cast Your Colonel poll that it was split 50-50, Democrat and Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably a lot of things that contributed to it, but just like anything, our county fairs have been changing up things, and I think they're getting better attended. And I'm hearing that from a lot of other counties too. So, maybe the fair concept is kind of having a little resurgent in modern times.
I tell you, that soapbox, that Des Moines Register soapbox down there, draws them.
It does.
This must be. Well, I know the Democrats are on fire and they want to beat Trump and all these things, but man, I can usually, in years past, I've been able to get a lot of Democratic candidates or Republican candidates, depending on. When I first took this job, Obama was still the president.
Sure.
So I was able to get all kinds of Republicans on the air who were looking to take Obama's job. And in 2016, I had all kinds of Democrats and Donald Trump on the air, even when he was here in town out to Iowa Central. Some of the local Republican guys got him to call me. I couldn't get close to any of those guys this time. I mean, CBS was there, ABC, all these people, some well-known newscasters. Tom Perez, the head of the DNC, was there. And they brought their entourages with them and media people, and there I am with my little KVFD microphone.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't going to get in there.
Unfortunately, in this climate too, I think they might be kind of isolating themselves and wanting a little more structured interviews, and
Oh, they do.
They're definitely maybe not as grassroots as what I think here in Iowa we're accustomed to, but there was no shortage of potential speakers to be on that soapbox this year. When you're filtering through 20 Democratic candidates, and and it looks like our Iowa, Governor Reynolds. I know she has a very active part in the fair, and a lot of the stuff I've seen on social media. Her and Mike Niag, the Ag Secretary, are very involved in a lot of the activities, and especially the 4-H and the animal showings and whatnot, and they really, I think, get the fair concept, but for what Iowa values.
I think the state fair is the embodiment of the state of Iowa, personally.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Iowa I grew up in. It still is. People are still Iowa nice down there. They have great displays. God, they had maybe it was my imagination, but man, they seem to have more displays than I've ever seen down there.
Yeah.
And they had the antique tractor show, and they had antique cars, and I just love all that stuff.
Yeah. There's something for everyone at the fairs.
I think there
is. Coming up, of course, we're going to have the Clay County Fair, and a lot of people...
Great machinery.
A lot of people argue that is the true rural type of fair, too. So, again...
I would disagree with him, but I'm not taking anything away from the Clay County Fair. That's a great fair. It is the world's greatest county fair,
right.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt of that, and they have great shows up there. I saw the Statler Brothers up there in the 70s and 80s several times. I just love the Statler Brothers, and the country shows at the time, Conway Twitty and Barbara Mandrell, and they had all the latest farm machinery. Some of the stuff that you see out in the field now, the first time I saw it was way back then at the Clay County Fair, and they were just talking about, well, this is like what the furniture, or not the furniture, but the machinery of the future is going to look like,
Yeah, and this year, of course, the Farm Progress Show is out in its sister site out in Decatur, Illinois.
Right.
And that alternates between the permanent site in Boone, which I think is a fair way to do it. It kind of spreads it out a little bit. But that's out there this year, so we'll have that again next year down in Boone, and that's become kind of a worldwide. There's people from tons of countries that come to that type of show. I know in the past I've had relatives from Sweden that have come here to just for that show.
Wow!
So it's that's kind of a worldwide destination type thing. But that'll be back in Boone next year. But coming up locally, we'll have the Clay County Fair here. And
you going up to the Clay County?
We'll see where we're at, farming wise, crop wise, and that's kind of the. I don't know.
It's always in the middle of September. It's you guys aren't usually in the field. I know you always want to get out there, but.
Yeah, it just depends on the weather, and as I heard before, we had nice storms roll through the area last night. Thankfully, we didn't have the extreme weather that I've seen reports of. I think DeSoto and some other towns, they had some funnel clouds or tornadoes, and I think they're still trying to assess really what happened, or if it was just heavy winds. That's definitely something we don't need this time of year. I'm always wishing for nice gentle rains and a little heat during the day. That's what growing corn's all about in Iowa.
Yeah.
And but even the rain last night, from what I'm hearing, was fairly spotty. On my farm, I had just shy of 3/4 of an inch.
That's nice. Nice little drink there.
Nice little drink. I had I think in the previous week, I had an 8/10 rain and 2/10 rain. So I've been getting some pretty nice steady rains. I'm still mowing grass, and that's a pretty good sign in the end of August if you're still mowing the yard. I used to hate that mowing the yard, but it seems like you get tired of it. But anymore, if that's the price I got to pay, I'm pretty happy to mow the yard in August. So, and then hopefully tonight, there's a chance of a little more. We don't need it all at one time, but these nice little showers. But there's some guys too that talked to some farmers this morning, and they just got a trace amount last night. So
that's always the way it is, though.
It's just the way these storms are made up and where you're at. And I think some people got more than they could use. So you think they're this time of year? We haven't had all that much rain. Do you suppose there's such a thing as too much rain? Oh, to a point. It's.
Nobody's suggesting flood rain.
Yeah, we don't need floods at this point. The thing that will change is here in the next month, we're definitely going to see crops changing, and when they begin to shut down, that's what can get us into trouble. Like the last 2 years, if we continue to get these rains, because even right now, like in corn, for instance. The corn plant's using about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch of rain a day. Whether it's fresh rain that's just falling out of the sky, or if it's pulling out of the subsurface in the ground, that's about the amount it's using. Once we get to maturity in the corn, that will stop. So then if we get rains, there's really nothing out there using any crops. So that's a big difference, and that's sometimes what gets us in trouble in the spring, and definitely can get us in trouble in the fall if we fill up that soil profile and there's really nowhere for it to go, and there's no plants using that moisture. So time will tell what kind of pattern we're going to have for this fall, but definitely right now we're noticing the days are getting a little shorter. We got school going to start here the end of this week in a lot of communities, or next week, and fall's going to be in the air, and it's just there's a lot of different there's a lot of crops out there right now that are in very they're behind, and these short days are going to be, and the weather we have in the next 4 weeks are going to be pretty critical to how we finish this year out. And there's last week, we had a big USDA report that kind of, I don't know, there wasn't, it made more questions than answers, I think, when they released the information. And then the end of last week, we had a private crop tour from DTN, and they go out and they use a pretty scientific method. They use satellites and a lot of science to come up with some numbers. And then this week, it's the Pro Farmer crop tour. And that's a very orchestrated, they have basically 2 teams. One starts out in Ohio, and the other starts at the western edge of South Dakota and North Dakota. And they basically converge in Iowa, and then they kind of go up into southern Minnesota and usually have their release. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty scientific. They do pretty systematic yield checks, and they stay on the same route every year to try to get kind of a baseline. So
you ready for this? This is really odd.
What's that?
I'm checking the rainfall totals from WHO Channel 13 Weather. Des Moines got 2.7 inches last night.
Okay.
Algona, 40 miles north, 1.2.
Okay.
Ames, 2/10.
yeah.
And 7/10 in Fort Dodge.
Okay. So that's about what we had in Slifer area, Farmville area.
It looks like it went from, it came sharply from the northwest down through the southeast, because Carroll got 2.4, and Sioux City got 0.2.
Sure.
Pretty strange pattern, but you can kind of follow it again down to the southeast corner of the state. Iowa City got 1.8, and Shenandoah in the southwest, the towns in the southwest part of the state got none.
Right.
0.
And southeast Iowa, that was actually starting to get pretty dry down in there. The drought monitor started picking up some of those areas. So, but how this crop or the weather goes right now is going to dictate a lot of what kind of crop we're going to have. We're finishing out. My crop is relatively far along, and these cool nights and rain actually they're a good thing. It's going to help the kernels have some mass, and we'll have some weight. But a lot of this crop's going to be pretty immature, and with these shorter days, it could get kind of challenging on that.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Steve Peterson's our guest. Steve is with the Farm Bureau, Webster County Farm Bureau, and, of course, this portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. I'm going to have Steve King in here on Monday.
Okay.
He did it again. And I've been a longtime supporter of Congressman King. And I have some questions I'm going to ask him, believe me.
Sure.
What questions would you have me ask him?
I guess, why does he do what he does?
God, really?
As
I was thinking more along the line, what the hell are you talking about, Congressman?
It's disappointing for me. He's for lack of, I guess, kind of a farm term, he's neutered himself.
Oh, God.
And I don't think there's anyone to blame but him.
Yeah.
I personally, as again, I've said, a lot of voters in Iowa are Iowa nice.
They are.
They like incumbents.
But
I personally believe there's going to be a lot of people just looking for something else. It's time to trade the car in.
Well, maybe that's the case. I mean, and I hate to do that because he's been good on ag issues. But he doesn't even have a committee now.
He has, but he's
been good for our area. He's worked with Fort Dodge. He has all those things.
But it's nobody's fault but his own that he got removed from these committee assignments. And when he does that, he essentially, like I said, he's neutered himself. And his effectiveness for our areas is pretty null and void. And so I don't know how he could reinvent himself and win back the trust. Personally,
I have no idea.
I've met with Mr. King out in his office. He's one of those guys. I personally like him.
Very personable guy.
As a person. I think a lot of people would agree with that, but he seems to be baited very well by some news organizations.
Easily.
And they lead him right down into a trap, and he takes the bait every time. So I guess I think, like I said, it comes a point in time when you trade the truck off, and personally, I guess I'll be looking for a new vehicle.
Well, this last incident was recorded, a video recorded, and he's got to understand that any public appearance he makes, there's cameras running.
Sure.
And there was this time too, and he's talking about the benefits of rape and incest. Not that he considered it morally a moral good or a positive good, but he was trying to make a point about abortion, and abortion must not be allowed under any circumstances. That sounded, I'm a conservative guy, but that sounded foreign to my ear.
I just find it hard to believe a lot of these fights or engagements that he's in are front and center to the majority of the constituents he represents.
That's right. We have real problems out here in the 4th District. We have trade wars. We have we got kicked in the face again the other day over RIN numbers. There's a lot of things going on in the 4th District that we need help with. We need effective representation in Washington.
Right.
We need a 4th District congressman who's focused on that and not abortion, frankly.
Right. I mean, as a farmer, first and foremost to me, I want to see some of these trade deals go forward. I want to see some deals signed, not just talked about. I want to see, the ethanol right now, even with the president, it's been kind of a letdown on what was said, and then the actions. The actions actually speak more than what we're being told. infrastructure, roads, highways, the stuff the federal government, I don't know that the federal government's real great on anything, but that's the stuff that's near and dear to me. So a lot of this other conversation that goes on and controversy that goes on is really it does nothing for me.
Yeah.
As a farmer, it's noise, and like I said, once he lost those committee assignments, he's kind of toxic to our agenda, I guess, that that we have in Washington.
Yeah, I'd have to say that. If we're going to have somebody go in there and fight this RIN number thing, because again we got kicked in the teeth about that just recently, and Donald Trump said he was going to do something about it in June. He did not. He went completely the other way and gave a break to the oil refineries again, which proves that Texas oil and Texas money in the gas and oil states are really running him.
I believe under the previous administration, there was like 8 exemptions that were waived, and those were criticized. And then this last batch there was 31.
31.
So that to me is a little suspicious, and it's
It's not suspicious. It's BS. Jeez.
I'm trying to be nice about it.
I'm sorry. This has got me working. The King thing and representation in Washington at this time period has got me worked up a little bit.
Yeah. I like I said, I it'll be interesting to see. I guess I don't know how he. I really don't know what it's going to be interesting to see what he says. I don't know what he could say.
Haven't you heard what he said? He said he was misquoted and he demands an apology from members of his own party.
Yeah,
he was recorded saying these things.
Right. So, like I said, I think a viable alternative candidate would get a lot of support right now.
Well, Randy Feenstra is out there. Mr. Taylor is there from Sioux City.
Yes.
Who's I'm impressed with him. Very much impressed with him. He is a deeply Christian conservative.
Yes.
And I like to think of myself in the same vein. But I don't know if Christian conservatives can win even in the 4th District anymore. Bob Vander Plaats has not endorsed Steve King. Exactly the opposite. Terry Branstad wrote checks to Randy Feenstra. Yeah, Steve King's in trouble.
Right. I believe Randy Feenstra right now is probably the front runner in money raised. And the money.
Way out there.
It's the.
Feenstra's got a lot more money.
It's just going to be interesting to see. And the Taylor, I've heard him speak. He seems very, very interesting to me.
I really was so impressed with him the first time I spoke with him.
And Mr. Feenstra, I don't know the area that he's elected to. It doesn't appear to me that he's ever really had to run a real seriously hard campaign. So I don't know. We all know that Mr. Schulten will be out there.
Beto O'Schulten, yeah, he'll be out there in that bus of his all over the place.
So,
and he'll be emoting and bleeding and talking about kids in cages, and I'm just an Iowa guy. I ask him what he's going to do, and he really doesn't know.
Right. So
we need somebody with some sort of legislative experience. That would be Feenstra.
Well, Taylor too. He was in the House.
Yeah, he was.
He was in the House.
Taylor too. Feenstra obviously is the candidate of the party.
Yes.
He the Branstad wing of the Republican Party has always shied away from Christian conservatives, frankly. Terry Branstad never wanted to be involved in the social issues business. Terry was a mainstream Republican. Business cuts for business tax cuts. Keep the cost of labor cheap, and we'll all have a nice life. That was his belief. I obviously disagree with him, but that's what he believed. He didn't want to get tangled up in Planned Parenthood or any of these things, or gay marriage, or any of those types of things. And
it's going to be interesting. I know, at our Farm Bureau meetings coming up, of course that's probably going to be talked about, and I'm sure we're going to be courted. And
when is the Farm Bureau meeting?
We'll have a fall meeting here early September in Des Moines. There's probably a good chance we might have some speakers down there trying to court us. I have a district meeting tonight, so I don't know that we've got anyone coming, but that they'll obviously at some point be according to the farm organizations, and we'll be kind of hearing some more about different candidates and information and stuff, that, like I said, that is more associated to the agricultural side of things.
Right.
We as an organization, a lot of the stuff Mr. King has been talking about is not in our wheelhouse. It's not. And so we'll look at the candidates on their questions or whatever, and a lot of it, even with the when we get into like next year's election, and we'll do Friends of Agriculture, and those we send out questionnaires and we look at voting records. It is not party affiliated in any way, shape, or form. It's purely off their voting record and their accomplishments towards agriculture. And it's amazingly we're pretty successful in the ones we support that support those things that are important to us. So
sure.
It's going to be an interesting. I do kind of watch the Democratic Party a lot, and you're starting to see a little infighting in different areas with them.
There's at the national level especially.
Yeah.
And Cindy Axney, I don't know if David. I've met David Young, who she beat, and he's a really great guy. He really is. Now, of course, what has to happen is David Young has to improve his numbers in Polk County and Dallas County.
Correct.
Because that's where he lost, and that's where all the people live, by the way, in the 3rd district. So if he can do that somehow, he's got a chance. Cindy Axney hasn't exactly set the world on fire. Of course, she's a first-term congressman. It'll all come
and it would be hard being a first-year one. They have the House,
right,
which I guess would help,
right.
But it would be I think extremely frustrating being a minority as a freshman.
Well, in the 3rd race, especially 3rd congressional race, it'll probably be determined by the presidential coattails, the presidential race coattails. If Trump has a big turnout, it might be Young. If whoever the Democratic nominee turns out big numbers, then Cindy Axney's back in the House.
But in the Washington level, there's so much turmoil with the squad and so it would be hard to get noticed in that atmosphere out there.
Boy, though, Ilhan Omar is especially vulgar, and I don't believe she likes our country at all. Anyway, Steve Peterson is our guest, and you're listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. This part of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau, and we'll be back in the next half hour.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
The word recession is inappropriate. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's President Trump's reaction to continued predictions from some economists. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
President Trump in the Oval Office saying the U.S. is very far from a recession and urged the Federal Reserve to cut long-term interest rates at its next meeting in September.
If they would do their job properly, and if they would do a meaningful cut because they raised too fast, you would see growth like you've not seen ever in this country.
The president also telling reporters that his administration is looking to cut taxes, but said he's not looking at doing anything right now. Separately, the president said the current standoff with China over trade was necessary and will benefit the U.S. in the long term. Lisa?
Thanks, John. Meantime, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo speaking at a UN Security Council meeting on threats in the Middle East. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, Pompeo told the Security Council that conflict in the Middle East is ongoing, pointing to one actor in particular.
The Islamic Republic of Iran and its proxies continue to foment terror and unrest in Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen.
He says missile tests and ship seizures are unacceptable, and the U.S. has helped create working groups involving world partners to focus on matters like
cybersecurity, human rights, maritime and aviation security, energy security, missile proliferation, counterterrorism, and humanitarian issues and refugees.
The initial working groups, Pompeo says, will begin work this fall, Lisa.
Thanks, Gernal. On Wall Street, a late sell-off. The Dow down 171 points at the closing bell, pretty much at lows for the session, dropping under 26K. The S&P and the Nasdaq also lower. The Nasdaq dropping more than 50. The S&P falling 23 points to right around 2,900. America is listening. Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
President Trump also telling reporters today he's not worried about a new study on threats posed by China's missiles.
The study out of Australia said that within a number of hours, China could do so much damage to U.S. military assets in the Indochina region that we would spend the first part of a war licking our wounds as opposed to mounting any sort of counteroffensive. But the president dismissed that, saying we've got the strongest military in the world, that we're continuing the buildup. But he did say that he doesn't think China would do that because they would pay a price that they don't want to pay.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House taking questions alongside the visiting president of Romania today. The president also again criticized Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who was recently denied entry to Israel, calling her vicious and out of control on past occasions and saying he didn't buy it when she cried during a news conference yesterday.
All of a sudden I see this person who's crying because she can't see her grandmother. She could see her grandmother. They gave her permission to see her grandmother, but she grandstanded and she didn't want to do it.
Tlaib, in a tweet earlier today, accused the president of a hate agenda, saying he should focus on other things. Climate change, the main topic at the annual bipartisan Lake Tahoe Summit.
California Senator Dianne Feinstein said wildfires are growing in intensity and becoming more catastrophic.
So climate change is not an issue that we can ignore.
She says her new bill encourages the removal of dead and dying trees from federal forests. And forest management is what California Republican Congressman Tom McClintock focused on.
Decaying or burning forests make a mockery of all of the laws aimed at reducing carbon emissions.
California has purchased 7 C-130 aircraft from the military, and when they've all been upgraded, the state will have the largest aerial firefighting force in the world. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, the Dow down 173, under 26K. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Manager David Furyk was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Devine. When asked about the city's upcoming plans in terms of broadband, Furyk had this to say.
Part of the agenda for next Monday, a resolution will put a question on a November ballot. Ask the question, should the city have the authority to establish a municipal broadband and telecommunications utility? So it'll go on the ballot for a referendum, so people get a vote on whether the city should have the authority to establish a utility. We're going to have that council consider that resolution, and that would put something on a November ballot. And if it passes, then the city does have the authority.
Furyk went on to explain the 3 options the city has going forward in terms of broadband.
We're still looking at 3 options. One option is creating the municipal utility, but before we get to that option, we're going to look at whether one of our incumbent providers is willing to either partner with the city or engage in creating a robust broadband system, not just for now but in the future. And if that doesn't work, there are interested competitive companies who would be new to the area that have already shown interest in Fort Dodge now that we're doing this pre-feasibility study, that would come in and be like a third broadband provider. And if either of those 2 options don't work, then the city has the final option of building its own system.
Fort Dodge police are trying to find a suspect they think is responsible for multiple car thefts. The suspect is 34-year-old Bradley Bauman Jr., who allegedly led the police on a chase early Sunday morning after officers spotted a vehicle that had been reported stolen in the area of North 32nd Street and 2nd Avenue North a little after 7 a.m. Sunday. The vehicle had been involved in a pursuit the night before in Story County. When officers tried to stop the vehicle, the driver, who they believe was Bauman, fled law enforcement in the vehicle northbound from Fort Dodge before driving into a field just off of Highway 17. Bauman is described as a 5'9" Caucasian male weighing around 250 pounds and has the name Jesse tattooed on his neck. Webster County Crime Stoppers is offering a $750 reward for information leading to his arrest. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 515-573-1444. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 85. West winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected. Tonight, chance for scattered thunderstorms, lows level off around 64. Chance for scattered storms again. Tomorrow, highs level off around 75, cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 82.
We stand for people, progress and pride.
We're the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we're making healthcare affordable for you. We provide our members with access to quality healthcare coverage, savings on prescription drugs, preventive care, and more. For more information, contact your local county farm bureau.
People, progress and pride, it's true. Iowa Farm Bureau's helping you.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, the doctor of truth, of course. And we are going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. Live, local, and relevant talk radio from the corner of 2nd Avenue North and 10th Street right here in Fort Dodge. This portion of the program, of course, brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. And with us now is past president of the Webster County Farm Bureau, Steve Peterson of beautiful downtown Slifer. And Steve, I think we should move away from politics because my head has a tendency to explode.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
But I did have the opportunity, and I was delighted to talk with a terrific woman, a great sense of humor, very learned, Dr. Brandy Jansen, who specializes in farm safety down at the University of Iowa. And, of course, I usually do that with 2 or 3 people, and I'll call Iowa Central as well. And,
sure.
To get some folks out there about fires in the field and all these things, what to do and what we can expect from a local response. Of course, you're a member of the fire department of Farnhamville?
Yep.
Farnhamville. So it's time we start thinking about farm safety in a number of ways. And, of course, you and I lost a friend, Dean Coleman, who a lifetime farmer. I never went out to dinner with Dean, or we didn't sit down or anything very often and talk sports or whatever it is Dean liked to talk about. But he was a good guy, and he struck me as someone who would be responsible around the farm and be careful. But the fact of the matter is he did die in a farm accident.
Yeah.
which is a rough way to go.
Yeah.
So and here we go into the fall of the year, and I can't believe we're saying it already, but we are, where there's going to be a lot of big machinery out on the highway and a lot of impatient people and a little fog every now and then, all those sorts of things, and we just have to be respectful, and we have to take extra measures and think about what we're doing here.
Yeah, as far as, I mean, there's a couple angles, I guess, to talk about, but initially, the end of this week, next week, we're going to start having the local schools. They're going to be going into session. We're going to have, of course, some young drivers, some first-time drivers. There'll be some young kids with school permits that don't have a tremendous amount of experience. It's one thing to watch out for them, but in turn, they have to be able to identify, giving some space and the closure distance. And we have, of course, out in the rural sides, we have a lot of uncontrolled intersections. There's can be tall corn on all four sides. So, there's a lot of precautions that need to be taken there. A lot of preventive maintenance can go a long ways into safety on the farm. And so in the next, it's been going on. We've been casually, working on things over the summer, and here in the next few weeks, I'm gonna be getting really deep into getting a lot of my equipment ready for the fall. And a lot of times, a little prevention now goes a long way. I'm not having to wrench on something in the dark out in the field. That's where you can a lot of things can happen. You can cut yourself, knock yourself out even with a big wrench.
Well, you're a single man out on the farm too.
It's I try to be a little more cautious on a lot of things. I don't have the luxury of having someone there with me a lot of times. So I and then being on the emergency services side of things, I see a lot of accidents and what can happen. So, but yeah, there's and I know the co-ops are even doing that right now. They're doing their maintenance, and they're getting ready for this time of year where we put a lot of hours in, and you hope for the best and plan for the worst sometimes in some of this stuff. And it's in Dean's passing, that makes me look. I can admit I've looked now at maybe some safety harnesses and some.
Well, that's certainly nothing to be ashamed of. It sounds like a wise thing to do.
Well, it opens your eyes.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunately
he fell inside a grain bin, didn't he? An empty grain
believe
bin.
So. I don't know the details of but that's my what I've been told. So on my bins, for example, now I do have staircases on the outside of my bins. A lot of bins, I believe, kind of prior to maybe 10 years ago, a lot of them just had open ladders up the sides. And now if you do a bin, you have to have a safety cage around that ladder. But I've kind of went a step further. I have a staircase. It's a metal staircase that kind of goes up and around the side of the bin. But I still climb onto the roofs. And, whether to open hatches, my bins have spreaders in them, so I have to go up and turn a switch to reverse them or which way they're going to spin. And then, again, I go up and down the staircases multiple times, checking on how full the bin is. And then even in the off or once we're done with fall, we're constantly going up to the top to check the grain. So personally, I like the staircase, but I'm looking at maybe adding some tie-off points and some safety harnesses and lanyards for when I'm up on the roof. So I try to be careful. I'm sure everyone does, but accidents do happen.
Well, Dean Coleman went up that grain bin 1,000 times.
Yep, I'm sure he was doing something he's done before.
Oh yeah.
But there's just a lot of things that first aid kits and fire extinguishers and and you don't necessarily have to be on the farm, in your own home, whether it's adding another smoke detector, a carbon monoxide detector, making sure the fire extinguishers are charged, safety first aid kits, something that coming from the fire side of things that that we get into, that when we get like a field fire or a combine fire, they call 911, and generally if we can get pointed in the right direction, we can see the smoke.
Yeah.
When there's an accident, whether it be a medical emergency, or we've had some anhydrous accidents or stuff like that, people, when they're under duress, they don't know the address out in the country. I do know some farmers
3 miles east, and
the old the old Johnson farm or whatever nickname. Every farmer's got a nickname for their farm, it seems like. Well, that means nothing to the 911 operator. So I do know some farmers that have made sheets to the nearest 911 address or intersection of their given farm, and then they will put their nickname or farm ID that goes along with that field. So if it's a hired man or whoever, if they're excited, they know the exact 911 address to tell the dispatcher, because when people are excited, it's hard. I mean, and especially when you don't really know where you're at.
Well, when they're scared to death.
Right. And so that's a great thing that I've had, I know some farmers that have done. So, but that goes and we, being in a rural side, we'll get people that have accidents. They don't know where they're at because they call on their cell phones, and they're just passing through. So they have no idea sometimes. So just kind of generalizing where you're at in the world sometimes can help too. It doesn't seem like on TV they think that they can pinpoint that phone from a satellite and know exactly where they're at. It really doesn't work that way here in rural Iowa. So maybe at some point that will be the case. But with Dean's unfortunate mistake, it's like I said, it's opened my eyes up, and I'm going to look at addressing maybe some safety upgrades on my bins and whatnot. But it's always something that's good. And I think whether you're on the farm, in town, just having a plan, talking to the kids, so that they know what they're going to do in the case of an emergency. Some of the plans that are laid out, is your best route.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. We all need to be mindful out there in the highway, too, as we started to talk about it. I will say, it's just something that I've noticed, but when I was a kid driving, those old farmers, they would move over. To hell with you. They had much smaller equipment, much smaller wagons, but these guys who are driving these big combines now, of course, we're not going to see well, we are going to see.
You're going to see them sooner than you think.
Oh, yeah, we're going to see them pretty soon, I guess. But they'll make every effort to get over.
They do, but they're massive, and there's tractors that are have massive tire widths on them now. There's pulled implements that are extremely wide. There's going to be wagons. There's going to be for another thing. In my case, I put a lot of rotating or flashing lights on the back of the wagons. They're a lot brighter than they used to be, a lot more exposure. Again, I err on the side of caution. And, and then also what can happen too is there'll always be the reflective SMV triangle. And, people need to understand what that means. That means that the vehicle...
Slow-moving vehicle.
It's a slow-moving vehicle, so that vehicle is generally going below 35 miles an hour. As a backup, it's not mandatory, but a lot of the equipment will have the reflective tapes, like semi-tractors do and whatnot, so that if the lights for some reason wouldn't work, it's a backup. And that's a good idea. Frankly, I like to have those on my wagons because you try to find a wagon in the dark sometimes out in the field. It's real nice having that reflective tape on there just to see where it's at. When you're turning and stuff. I have always said that nothing good happens after dark out in the field.
Well, that's what your mom and dad always said, didn't it?
I'm a firm believer.
Nothing good happens after midnight, and of course, I always wanted to stay out after midnight.
But there's a lot of
they were right, as it turned out.
There's a lot of operations and farm operations. They'll work a lot of hours, and then you compound some of these problems with being tired, and so it's a challenging time of year. It's it's Iowa. It we're going to put long hours in. It's all going to get done, no matter how circumstances are. It eventually will get done, and you got to let your patience and perseverance go through on
Now
it.
that reminder about patience goes for you guys too.
Oh yeah,
you guys are always racing your motor out there. Oh my God, it's going to freeze. Oh my God, it's going to rain.
Yep.
On and on and on.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in the last couple of years, don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today has been kind of the motto we've went through. I mean, that happened this spring. It's been the case, I think, the last 2 falls, and we'll see what the weather has for us going forward here. But it's just a challenging time of year, especially when we get a new intermix with the seasons changing and a lot of equipment that there's going to be a lot of wagons out in the field. There'll be tillage equipment. There'll be combines. There'll be trailers with heads on it. And then the co-ops are going to be out. You're going to see these large floaters and semi-tenders, and they're going to be parked alongside the roads. They're going to be, in some situations that they normally aren't. And then, again, we'll have the depending on, it seems like every fall we manage to have a field fire or something that gets out of control, and that's a whole nother challenge too. So
I hope we had when I was younger, and still today, hear about it every year. We still have farmers dying in grain bin accidents. I hope
we do.
I hope, and that's a terrible way to go.
There was one about 2 weeks ago over by Lakeview.
Oh no, really?
Yep.
Oh gosh. Well, what are we doing wrong? Aren't we getting information out there, or don't we have the correct safety equipment, or guys are just taking too big a risks, or
and here in the last 5 years, there's been a lot of push. I believe all the departments in our area, we now have grain rescue equipment, which was something that was not even thought of 10 years ago. And I know all the rural departments, we all have, there's several different manufacturers out there. In our neighborhood or our locale around Farnaville, we pretty much know which departments have the same equipment, because we can, a lot of times we'll utilize multiple departments for as far as implementing some of that equipment. But it's a common thing, and it's not common, but unfortunately it happens. And I don't know. Everyone I know is usually extremely precautious, or they take a lot of precaution with that. But unfortunately, it seems like they get caught every now and then. And I don't know the common denominator or why, but there's been some rescues. We do simulators that for doing grain rescues, and it's kind of scary. We go in these tanks and fill up the tank with grain, and you can't get out. It's pretty it's challenging.
Yeah, it scared the hell right out of me.
It's challenging. So we do a lot of training on that.
God, I knew a guy that was trapped in corn 4 hours one time before they got him out of there.
Yeah.
But the good thing is they did get him out.
They did, yeah.
4 hours, jeez.
Yeah.
And in a hot day,
It's so like I said, at least now we do have the equipment and whatnot to get people out if we can get to them and they're not submerged too long in it. Because it's a lot of weight.
It is. Well, that was the whole thing. He was a big, strong man, but still 4 hours.
Yeah.
All that pressure on your heart and lungs.
If you're trapped up to your waist, you can't get out.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you try. And then if people don't know what they're doing and never been around it, and they're walking around trying to help, they can actually be doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
Because every time they take a step, they're compressing that grain against them.
Isn't that something?
And it's pretty horrific. So,
it is. It's just a rough way. I wouldn't get in a grain bin to save my life.
My bins personally, I don't have to get in them now until the very end when I just sweep things out. So that's
I get in to do that, but that's it.
That's a good way to have it. I very seldom ever are in a bin if any motors are on now. So it's
that's a smart thing.
It's technology, and I've invested in that. And I think some of it is there's there's some older equipment being used and on rental, farms, and unfortunately it doesn't have the modern safety features and amenities that some of the new bins have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very, very again, prevention and education goes a long ways in those in preventing those tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's I guess I've been looking at safety harnesses and what I can do different for when I'm climbing on those bins.
Mm-hmm.
Cell phones are always important for me to have. And occasionally if I do need help, I'll reach out, and there seems to be always someone that'll help me. So,
sure.
but there's a lot of us out there that work pretty much by ourselves too.
Yeah.
So
It
can get dark out there.
It's a solitary occupation.
It can be. So even a lot of the big operation, there's a lot of individuals they might be out doing tillage or some operation all by their lonesome for 6-8 hours or all through the night.
Oh yeah.
And never be around another person. And it can be a deal. They can get out to unplug a disc or get a rock out or change a shank, and something can go wrong. So
boy, that's a little too. I drove truck for a number of years, and I drove over the road a short time. I didn't like that at all, and the reason I didn't like it is it's such a solitary occupation.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Tennessee. And Tennessee is one big rolling set of hills, and you're pounding on that truck 12 hours a day a lot of times, by yourself, going through cities, and it wasn't for me.
Of my dad and grandpa's era, it seemed like there was a lot more PTO accidents.
Oh, definitely.
And with safety and changes, and
people lost arms and legs and everything.
Right, and rollovers on tractors.
Oh,
and
I talked with that Dr. Jensen yesterday about that exactly. There's still a lot of Farmall M's and C's out there.
There's still a lot of older equipment that's used and whatnot, but it seemed like those kind of accidents were way more common of that era. It's corn cribs and stuff like that. You didn't have the engulfments of grain like we do now in these bins. But PTO accidents seem to be, I'm not saying that they don't happen now, but I don't think at the frequency. It seemed like a lot of people had a lot, loose overalls and whatnot. And these live unsafe PTOs, and frankly, it was dangerous.
Talked to Tim Kreinbrink about a relative of his, an in-law actually, who was caught in the PTO. It's a pretty nasty story.
So fortunately, we don't see those accidents as prevalent now, but we are seeing some new ones, and unfortunately, grain engulfments seem to be on the rise from what I'm seeing.
I'm sorry I didn't. I should go back and ask Dr. Jansen some questions by email and have her on again. I kind of surprised her yesterday with a question about farm equipment accidents out on the highway, and she didn't have the information in front of her. I was just wondering if that had gotten better or worse over the years. Again, it's been my observation that since the big equipment has been out there, as you say, with the big triangle, the small, the SMV triangle out there.
LED lights seem to be a big kind
LEDs are good.
You
used to come up on some of those old boys. They'd have a single reflector on the doggone wagon.
Right. Or the old, I think I've still got some in the basement. They used a great big square battery, and they blinked.
Yeah.
They weren't very bright. Now with the invention, I go to Napa and I get these magnetic LED rotary lights for about $25, and you can see them for a mile away. They're inexpensive. They're very bright and very reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So the technology in some ways has drastically improved in that. But even the other downside is some guys, the field lights are so bright now. If they go out on the road with those, it's blinding. We have such again with the LED and the HID light technologies, it looks like a football stadium out there with a lot of those lights. So, and they are supposed to shut those off when they're, or get down to a road light when they're out on the highway, because they are definitely blinding.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
There still are, car and ag implement type. I think a lot of times they don't judge the closing distance or the size of the piece of equipment. But unfortunately, that still happens. But everyone just needs to kind of take a step back, slow down, and look at your own situation, your own environment, and a little bit of prevention can go a long ways.
Boy, just life is so funny anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole life can turn on a dime. There's no sense.
It can.
For good or bad. I've had a phone call that changed my life for the better.
Sure.
Just like that, and it's gone the other way, of course. But we should keep that in mind as we head into fall. That's for sure. And watch out for the kids. Everybody, because the kids aren't going to watch out for themselves, are they?
Not all the time.
Not all the time. They're not. Steve Peterson. He's with the Webster.
Fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Yeah, 3:33. The news is coming up.
Don't wanna discuss it. Think it's time for a change. You may get disgusted. Start thinking that I'm strange. The kids are going to ground. Get some heavy rest. Never have to worry about what is worst or what is best. Get it. Oh, domino. All right. Romeo, Romeo, there you go. Lord have mercy. I said, oh, domino. Romeo, Romeo, there you go. Say it again.
The General Store sells quality used clothing and household goods. Proceeds from their sales go for people supported by the nonprofit organization One Vision. One Vision provides services to nearly 600 people with special needs in 30 Iowa communities. One Vision finds them affordable, safe housing in their communities, including Clear Lake, Mason City, Garner, Forest City, Osage, Eagle Grove, Webster City, Humboldt, and Fort Dodge. Every purchase you make at the General Store helps the people served by One Vision. Shop the General Store, Fort Dodge.
Now, we've all heard this way too often.
Like but you must act now, because these deals won't last long.
If you're like me, when it comes to making a big purchase like buying a car, you don't want someone yelling a lot and pressuring you into getting something you can't afford. So I did my research.
For your next used vehicle, do your research and then head to Humboldt Motor Sales. The atmosphere is relaxing and they'll help you find the pre-owned vehicle of your dreams. So when people ask where you got your ride, the answer is simple. Humboldt Motor Sales or online at HumboldtGM.com.
Thrifty White Community Health Corner. At Thrifty White Pharmacy, our Ready Refill program fits your busy lifestyle. Your prescriptions are automatically filled ahead of time and ready when you are. Once your maintenance medications are enrolled, there's no need to worry about running out. We offer free mail-out service, so your prescriptions can be automatically sent to your home. Stop into your local Thrifty White Pharmacy and enroll today. It's easy, convenient, and free.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Manager David Feerick was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine. When asked about the city's upcoming plans in terms of broadband, Feerick had this to say.
Part of the agenda for next Monday, a resolution will put a question on a November ballot. Ask the question, should the city have the authority to establish a municipal broadband and telecommunications utility? So it'll go on the ballot for a referendum, so people get a vote on whether the city should have the authority to establish a utility. We're going to have that council consider that resolution, and that would put something on a November ballot. And if it passes, then the city does have the authority.
Feerick went on to explain the three options the city has going forward in terms of broadband.
We're still looking at three options. One option is creating the municipal utility, but before we get to that option, we're going to look at whether one of our incumbent providers is willing to either partner with the city or engage in creating a robust broadband system, not just for now but in the future. And if that doesn't work, there are interested competitive companies who would be new to the area that have already shown interest in Fort Dodge now that we're doing this pre-feasibility study, that would come in and be like a third broadband provider. And if either of those two options don't work, then the city has the final option of building its own system.
Fort Dodge police are trying to find a suspect they think is responsible for multiple car thefts. The suspect is 34-year-old Bradley Bauman Jr., who allegedly led the police on a chase early Sunday morning after officers spotted a vehicle that had been reported stolen in the area of North 32nd Street and 2nd Avenue North a little after 7 a.m. Sunday. The vehicle had been involved in a pursuit the night before in Story County. When officers tried to stop the vehicle, the driver, who they believe was Bauman, fled law enforcement in the vehicle northbound from Fort Dodge before driving into a field just off of Highway 17. Bauman is described as a 5'9" Caucasian male weighing around 250 pounds and has the name Jesse tattooed on his neck. Webster County Crime Stoppers is offering a $750 reward for information leading to his arrest. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 515-573-1444. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 85. West winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected. Tonight, chance for scattered thunderstorms, lows level off around 64. Chance for scattered storms again. Tomorrow, highs level off around 75, cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 84.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 5.5 cents to close at $3.59.5. December down 5 3/4 at $3.68 3/4. March down 5 3/4 at $3.81 1/4. May down 5.5 cents at $3.88 3/4. September soybeans up 1 3/4 at $8.55 3/4. November up 1 3/4 cents at $8.68 1/4. January up 1.5 pennies at $8.82. March up 1.5 at $8.95 and 90 cents at 133.72. October lean hogs up 95 cents at 64.97. December up 132 at 64.17. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
The Environmental Working Group has released a report saying it found traces of the herbicide glyphosate in nearly 20 oat-based cereals and snacks in a new round of testing that the group commissioned. Should you be concerned? I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Bill Reeves, the Global Health and Safety Issues Management Lead with Bayer Crop Science, says consumers should not be concerned. He says glyphosate and other crop products are tested by the U.S. EPA. The EPA has established a threshold for residue testing, and Reeves says because of advances in technology, it can detect traces of glyphosate as small as 1/1,000,000th of a gram. Reeves says the reports from the Environmental Working Group mistakenly say that glyphosate is cancer-causing, which he says scares consumers. The EPA has confirmed glyphosate is not carcinogenic.
You'd have to eat your body weight in cereal every day for life to even reach just the regulatory limit.
But Allie Mammaleder, the director of business strategy with Organic Traditions, says she is still concerned that there are traces of glyphosate found in cereals.
I think it's definitely still concerning to me. I think having any trace of these toxic chemicals is unacceptable. The report is concerning.
She says there are alternative cereals to try instead that are sorghum-based. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
When is a calculator more than a calculator?
when it takes me from solving math problems
to exploring the universe.
Staples is your back-to-school destination. Find all the supplies and inspiration you need. Come in store this week for great deals under $1. Right now, Staples one-subject notebooks are just 25 cents each, and Staples composition books, 2 Pocket Poly folders, and 24-pack Crayola crayons are just 50 cents each. Staples, back to school and beyond. In-store only. Ends 8/31/19. Limit 30 on notebooks, folders, and crayons while supplies last.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com. On Twitter at JMike1400.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. Of course, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. And joining me once again today is Dr. Dean Stansel, who's an economics professor at Southern Methodist University. Hi, Dean.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm outstanding. You're also with the O'Neill Center at SMU. Please explain the O'Neill Center.
Sure thing. The O'Neill Center for Global Markets and Freedom is a research center in the Cox Business School at SMU in Dallas, and it was set up by one of our alums, William O'Neill, who is also the founder of Investors Business Daily newspaper. You can find that at investors.com. And we study the impact of competitive market forces on freedom and prosperity in the global economy. Our website is o'neillcenter.org. That's ONEIL.
All right, Dr. Stansel is openly baiting liberals here today, and I'll start with this one. All week long, we have heard the drumbeat from what's become known as the mainstream press, is that we're headed for a recession. All the indicators are there, and economists are saying, and experts are saying, and I always think the experts are probably Paul Krugman, but they don't actually say it. But I checked PBS News. I checked with most of the major news networks. CBS, NBC, ABC, yes, we're headed for a recession. So if you check my Facebook page, there is a post there from Fox News Channel 4. And what do we have here but a video with Dr. Dean Stansel talking about the stocks moving broadly higher as a turbulent week nears its end. Why was it a turbulent week? I didn't notice.
Yeah, so this I think we did this interview on Thursday, and then they posted it the next day after the stocks went back up. But
yeah, the stock market took a dive on Tuesday, but what the heck? I mean,
a dive on Wednesday, I think it was.
Was it Wednesday?
And not only did it drop like 800 points, and it was apparently the biggest single day drop in maybe forever, I don't know, but in a long time at least. And then the other thing that happened, Michael, is that that there was what's called a yield curve inversion, and this is, as the interviewer in this short TV interview said up front, don't try to explain it. So I don't want to take too much time on it, but we have a longer format here, and we only had a couple minutes with him. Basically, every time the 10-year Treasury bond yields, in other words, the return you get on buying a 10-year or long-term Treasury bond, every time those have fallen below the return you get on a 2-year bond, which is unusual. Usually you would have to get more money back, a higher return for having your money tied up longer. So this is an unusual situation. But every time that's happened, these yield curves have inverted, these yields have inverted. A recession has eventually followed. Now, that may or may not be useful for people, for investors. Ultimately, the business cycle is not dead, and so you could kind of say the same thing about a lot of other factors, right? Because a recession eventually comes.
Certainly.
So we will have another recession. All these people saying there's a recession coming, they're absolutely right, Michael. There is one coming. They don't know when it is, and neither do I. But it'll be here at some point.
I'm well aware of the games the press plays. I hate to admit it, but I do it myself every now and then. Yes, they know a recession is coming. It's always coming, and the upturn is coming as well. But they all got together here and exchanged emails or cell phone calls or whatever and say, let's report on this since we had this nice big crash in the middle of the week. And spread a little fear and loathing of Trump, because the economy is Trump's big deal. That's his reason to be. You have to vote for me. He even said it in his usual awkward way. You have to vote for me, or the economy will crash, or some damn thing, whatever he said. But so there was an attack on the Trump economy in a rather clumsy one, if you know anything about the media at all. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it needed to be said, and I like to think that I would have thought to say it myself sometime this week. But that was another clumsy attempt by the mainstream press to scare people, frankly, to scare people and probably no doubt, to jab Trump as well.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, you're probably right about that. The main thing is, I think that we give presidents too much credit when things go well, and too much blame when they go poorly. I mean, certainly, they're the figurehead, and it's easiest for headlines and for news stories. But ultimately, Congress plays a role, the Federal Reserve plays a role. All sorts of factors play a role. Other, decisions in other countries' economies, and large economies that impact us. So yeah, it's way more complicated than the headlines give credit. But I do think that combined with the stock price fall, the yield inversion thing, which really didn't last that long. These are legitimate reasons to pursue a story, I think, and ultimately, as it's all about getting clicks or eyes or
certainly.
Certainly, as readers. So,
anyway. And I always love it, and the newspapers do it the most. According to experts, according to economists.
Right.
And you and I have talked before. If you get 10 economists together from around the country and ask the same question of each of them at the same time, you might get 10 different responses.
Unless the question is, are tariffs bad? They're all going to say.
I would think so. And Trump might
except for
find
that one
it.
Guy.
And except for that one guy over there who voted for Trump, and he's going to say, well, tariffs are bad, except when Trump does it in this particular case. That's just the way it is. And there are people out there still using the Southern Poverty Law Center as a reference point for racism in our country, racist groups. My God, the Southern Poverty Law Center named the Amana Colonies as a racist group. Now, the Amana Colonies is a group of quiet German people. I think they're, I can't remember what religion they are, but they've been baking bread and making furniture down in the Amana Colonies here in Iowa for decades. And they've hardly bothered anyone at all. But somehow, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, they were a center for racism and white supremacy. They took it back in 3 or 4 days. It was so ludicrous that everybody in Iowa went, what? Anyway, I started out by saying that Dr. Stanzel's beating liberals. Let's move on to the...
One last thing on the...
Oh, yes, please.
I just want to make sure, kind of put this in perspective. So over the last 2.5 years, roughly since Trump's been in office, the Dow Jones is up nearly 25%. So it's about 10% rate of return per year, which is way above the historical average. So while the stock market's going to fluctuate, and these short-term things maybe don't mean so much, it's already way higher than it normally would be. So some sort of correction shouldn't be all that unexpected.
The stock market's up 25% since Trump. Interesting.
Well, over the last 2.5 years is the calculation I did. I can't remember why I chose that. I think that is roughly, because that would be February 17 when he took office late January.
Yeah, well, you won't hear that on CBS News tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you. But again, Dr. Stanzel's beating liberals here today. There's a piece here from the American Institute for Economic Research, and here's the title. For most things, recycling harms the environment. Somewhere there's a liberal just coming out of their skin after hearing that. So what do you mean that recycling harms the environment?
Sure, and to be fair, my friend Michael Munger, who's a professor, econ professor at Duke, wrote this. But so one of the things that people often overlook with any decision we make, we've got to kind of count up the costs and benefits. We do it subconsciously for small things, but for big things like mandatory recycling programs, it's probably a good idea to do it a little more deliberately. And one of the things that people often ignore with this stuff is the cost of actually doing the recycling, right? They focus on the benefits. Okay, this will, help create less stuff in landfills and less need to seek out resources to replace this stuff with if we can use it again or recycle it in some way. And that's fair enough. But the cost, right? Think about the cost. Like one of the things that this article focuses on that I think is real important is how this can vary across the different kinds of goods, right? So aluminum is very lightweight. It's very easy to transport, very cheap to transport, and it is actually cost effective to recycle aluminum in most cases. But glass is totally the opposite. It's very heavy, therefore very costly to transport it, and we actually are harming the environment because of all the resources we're spending powering the trucks that drive the glass to the recycling plants. And so the costs exceed the benefits in that case, at least, as well as some others.
I see Professor Munger flew to Australia in this particular article. By the way, all these articles are available on my Facebook page, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. But Professor Munger reveals that he was flown to Australia to address this group, and he spent 30 hours on an airplane in coach. Now, the last time I flew coach, 30 hours, I was coming home from overseas, and I was in the military, and I vowed never to do it again, and I haven't, as a matter of fact. So his sacrifice was more than enough. That is interesting. A conference called Australia Recycles, by the way, is what you're looking for, and this is by Michael Munger. And as Dr. Stanzel said, he is an economics professor at Duke University. And is he still there? This was from 2008.
Yeah, he is still there. And he didn't go into it in this article, but I read something else recently about it ties in completely with this is the plastic bag bans that are going in effect in some places. And so the argument the folks who support banning these things make is that the fabric bags, they're reusable, and so we're not having to fill landfills with these plastic bags and use the natural resources to produce them. But there've been some studies on the level of bacteria that develops inside of those reusable fabric bags.
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
And also the sheer cost of these thin plastic bags is really quite low, and so there's a lot of pushback there that these and it's something else I was reading today. It's environmentalism is almost a religion in a sense, right?
Oh, it is.
Maybe
Oh,
it's
no
from
doubt.
This Munger article that it's symbolic, right? He tells the story of this woman in Chile in the country of Chile in a big SUV driving to drop off two plastic 2-liter bottles at a recycling place to pay her penance essentially, and it's that it shouldn't be that way. We should be doing it if it makes sense and not if it doesn't. And there are lots of cases that really don't make sense. And there are stories from previous areas. I don't think it's that way here in Dallas, but there are areas where I live at least. But there are areas where they collect your recycling, and then they take it all to the same place they take the trash because it's just not cost effective for them to sort it, right? Think about the sorting process.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of cost involved there. It's not to say that it, in some cases, especially with aluminum, isn't worth it, but what we ought to be doing is putting our glass in the trash and making it easier for them to transport the stuff.
Well, a lot of these things are government mandated. I know our recycling center here urges us to separate our trash now, and plastic bags are not appreciated in this area well, the reason is we are a farming area, and plastic bags fly out into the field and gum up the farm machinery and look just terrible out there. For another thing, I've been in the spring. I've driven, taken a drive in the country, and I've seen newly planted fields that just have plastic bags everywhere, usually near a shopping center or a big Walmart or something like that. There's plastic bags all over the place. And again, it gets to be a problem at times. So I haven't, though I've been given a lot of those fabric bags, I haven't really used them. I've got to find some other way to do things. I don't know what it is, but I haven't given up the plastic bags immediately, although I have taken care to do something with them so they won't wind up in a field somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of keeping control of your stuff and not littering, essentially. I mean, it's the bag user, not the bag, to me.
Yeah, that's right. Our guest is Dr. Dean Stanzel. He's an economist with Southern Methodist University, and this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. So the solar experiment here, you mentioned something about China as well, that the solar experiment failed in China because somebody kept stealing the solar panels. I love that. I love it!
Yep. So there was the story I ran across just recently about a solar road in France. And so they decided instead of putting the panels up on the roof where they could move and be collecting the sunlight better, they decided they were going to put them on the road. Of course, the road gets sun too. But it's a short little piece, actually in Popular Mechanics, that really points out some of the kind of ludicrousness of these efforts and the short-sightedness. So So they, the long story short, the roads aren't they're falling apart, and they're not collecting the amount they wanted to collect. Because the roads also are very loud when they drive over them, they had to lower the speed limit because all the people nearby were complaining, down to they use kilometers, but in miles per hour, down to 43 miles per hour. And I think it's not a city street; it's more of a open road. The joints were falling apart. The panels were peeling off, and it wasn't producing nearly as much electricity as it was supposed to. And here's why. Part of the reason why they put it in Normandy, which is not historically known as a sunny area. Apparently, it only gets about 44 days of strong sunshine a year. So they put it in a not so sunny place, and they put them flat on the road. Whereas the ones that are up on the roof get a lot better. Are a lot more efficient because they get the sun. They get the sunlight more often. And anyway, so this is a failed experiment. They spent I want to say $5.5,
yeah.
But yeah, the China at the end of the story, they note these roads across the world have had trouble other places as well, and they cite the example of. In 2018, a week after a solar road opened in China, its solar panels were stolen. So they were gone, and that's doing no one any good.
No, that's absolutely correct. Dr. Dean Stanzel is our guest, an economist at Southern Methodist University. And this, of course, AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Of course, Dr. Stanzel's on Facebook. And when I post something that he doesn't necessarily agree with, he pounces. Now, I've kind of paid attention to Robert Reich over the many years. He was the Secretary of Labor in the Clinton administration. He's an economist, and he claims credit or blame for introducing Bill and Hillary Clinton many years ago. And the post I made this time on Facebook that Dr. Stanzel paid attention to was that American taxpayers paid over $90 billion more under Trump tax law. And, of course, it's implied that that business, large corporations, and the wealthiest didn't pay as much. So what can we say about this, Dean?
Well, a couple things. First of all, not to be credentialist, but Robert Reich is not an economist. He's often called one. He is a professor of public policy, but doesn't really have formal economics training, at least not at the graduate level. But nevertheless, leaving that aside, that's petty. But I didn't necessarily disagree with the article per se, but I think it's worthy of some conversation to put it into context, because ultimately this tax cut that was put in place was largely focused on the corporate side, in part because our corporate tax rate was one of the highest in the world. And so the headline that all...
This is Gary Rima, the voice of the UNI Panthers, and you can listen to exciting Panther sports right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD.
What's next for the U.S. economy? I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump, in so many words, says don't believe everything you hear as he defends his economic policies.
The president telling reporters in the Oval Office that his administration is looking to cut taxes, but he said he wasn't looking to do anything right now. Also dismissing the idea that the U.S. is headed for an economic recession.
Certain people, I'm going to be kind, certain people in the media are trying to build up because they'd love to see a recession. We're very far from a recession.
The president also urged the Federal Reserve to cut long-term interest rates at its next meeting in September, predicting that if the Fed did so, there would be tremendous economic growth. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
The president also defending the trade fight with China.
And it's about time, whether it's good for our country or bad for our country short term, long term, it's imperative that somebody does this.
He argues any short-term impacts on the economy are worth it to stop unfair trade practices and address national security concerns. Wall Street, though, remains anxious, the Dow dropping 173 points in a late sell-off. The man accused of killing a Utah college student is now facing new charges of kidnapping and sexually abusing another woman.
Salt Lake County prosecutors say Ayula Ajayi met the woman on a dating app last year and sexually abused her in his home after they had dinner. The victim telling investigators Ajayi began to kiss her and then became more aggressive after she tried to get him to stop. Authorities say they learned about the crime as part of their ongoing investigation of the 31-year-old. Ajayi was previously charged with kidnapping and murdering Mackenzie Lewick. He's accused of trying to burn Lewick's body in his backyard before burying her remains remains in a canyon.
Fox's Steve Rappaport. A social media connection is also part of the investigation into Lueck's death. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Nearly 20 states are now suing the Trump administration over expanded restrictions on green card applicants.
America is a nation of immigrants. It was built by immigrants, and generations have landed on the welcoming shores of Ellis Island with nothing more than a dream in their pockets.
New York State Attorney General Letitia James announcing the latest lawsuit, along with Connecticut and Vermont, over the new rules announced last week that could block green cards for immigrants who use public assistance, including Medicaid and food stamps. The lawsuit argues the new rules are unconstitutional. The Trump administration argues the expansion helps protect American taxpayers. A court fight continues over a new restrictive abortion law in Georgia.
Lawyers for the state of Georgia are asking a federal judge not to block its fetal heartbeat abortion law. It's set to take effect next year. With few exceptions, the law would ban abortions once a heartbeat is detected. That's often as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy. Court filings this week from state lawyers are in response to a challenge from Planned Parenthood, the American Civil Liberties Union, and others. The abortion rights groups are asking a judge to block the law while that court challenge plays out. Tom Graham, Fox News.
They're also asking for the lawsuits to be dismissed. More political upheaval in Italy.
Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte resigned on Tuesday. The coalition government consisted of two main parties, the far-right League and the anti-establishment Five Star Movement. Conte was part of neither. He was the bridge between them. But fighting between the two sides led to League leader Matteo Salvini calling for new elections. And against this backdrop, the Senate convened today. Conte said he was stepping down after lashing out at Salvini for being irresponsible when government had much work to be done, he said.
Fox's Amy Kellogg in Milan. This just over a year since the new populist administration formed in Italy. Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Manager David Feerick was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Devine. When asked about the city's upcoming plans in terms of broadband, Feerick had this to say.
Part of the agenda for next Monday, a resolution will put a question on a November ballot. Ask the question, should the city have the authority to establish a municipal broadband and telecommunications utility? So it'll go on the ballot for a referendum, so people get a vote on whether the city should have the authority to establish a utility. We're going to have that council consider that resolution, and that would put something on a November ballot. And if it passes, then the city does have the authority.
Feerick went on to explain the three options the city has going forward in terms of broadband.
We're still looking at three options. One option is creating the municipal utility, but before we get to that option, we're going to look at whether one of our incumbent providers is willing to either partner with the city or engage in creating a robust broadband system, not just for now but in the future. And if that doesn't work, there are interested competitive companies who would be new to the area that have already shown interest in Fort Dodge now that we're doing this pre-feasibility study, that would come in and be like a third broadband provider. And if either of those two options don't work, then the city has the final option of building its own system.
Fort Dodge police are trying to find a suspect they think is responsible for multiple car thefts. The suspect is 34-year-old Bradley Bauman Jr., who allegedly led the police on a chase early Sunday morning after officers spotted a vehicle that had been reported stolen in the area of North 32nd Street and 2nd Avenue North a little after 7 a.m. Sunday. The vehicle had been involved in a pursuit the night before in Story County. When officers tried to stop the vehicle, the driver, who they believe was Bauman, fled law enforcement in the vehicle northbound from Fort Dodge before driving into a field just off of Highway 17. Bauman is described as a 5'9" Caucasian male weighing around 250 pounds and has the name Jesse tattooed on his neck. Webster County Crime Stoppers is offering a $750 reward for information leading to his arrest. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 515-573-1444. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 85. West winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected. Tonight, chance for scattered thunderstorms, lows level off around 64. Chance for scattered storms again. Tomorrow, highs level off around 75, cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 84.
Mom, Dad, I'm getting married. That's wonderful, dear.
Congratulations. So have you decided on a date?
Yes, this Saturday.
What? Are you serious? We need to plan. There's so much to do.
What about the church? The flowers, music, food, inviting everyone?
You would not want to be faced with those hurried decisions then. Why do that to your family with your own final arrangements? I invite you to sit down with us at Gunderson's to pre-plan your funeral. Pre-planning allows you to make thoughtful decisions with a clear mind. Give us a call at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services, Fort Dodge.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics, Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
What's the biggest rack you ever saw?
You're not going to believe this, but I saw a huge rack once. I know it was a 44.
A 44? Man, I'd like to see that.
Me too.
Yep, that was a nice rack, all right.
Looking for a big rack this year? Then head for the Iowa Outdoor Store, where you'll find everything you need to bag the buck with the big rack. Bring your bow in with you and they'll make sure it's ready for the season. Check out the full line of bows and accessories today at the Iowa Outdoor Store at the junction of Highways 7 and 169, Fort Dodge.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
A big rack, huh? Is that one of those double entendres? I think it is. When I was a young man, me and my goofy little friends used to talk about big racks all the time, but we had something else in mind, and we didn't have any animals in mind at all. So I'm going to, I'm going to go out there on a limb and say big racks is a double entendre for a woman with a very large chest. I don't have any problem with that. I don't. Never my particular cup of tea, but, since I started... well, I don't want to go down that road. I just don't want to go down that road. Since I started growing man boobs, I just don't want to, I don't want to talk about it a lot. Older men, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody, we don't sit around the coffee shop saying, wow, do I have man boobs? It's just, age can be so humiliating. Age can be so humiliating. I have my old friend Mike Libby on the air with me every now and then. Of course, Mike is Jewish. Some of you remember him. Some of you don't remember him fondly. But Mike, of course, has spoken of his heritage often over the years. And the last time I had him on air, here the last couple of months, maybe three times. And I asked him about his continuing loyalty to the Democratic Party. the Democratic Party under Nancy Pelosi is turning the Democratic Party into Jew haters. The Democratic Party needs to step up. Ilhan Omar is an extremist, a Muslim extremist who wants the destruction of Israel. Ilhan Omar does not like our country. As a matter of fact, she hates our country. If Ilhan Omar had her way, women, you'd be in headscarves, a hijab or whatever those things are called. These are the people who are assailing our long-time relationship with the State of Israel. Now, I know that Israel often manipulates us, takes us for granted, tries to drive wedges between us and the Arabs, all of those things. But Nancy Pelosi will not come down on Ilhan Omar and this Tlaib character from Detroit. The reason is she's a craven politician clinging to power. She wants to remain Speaker of the House, and she's surrendering the Democratic Party to Jew haters. I'm not one who admires Jew haters. But obviously the party is coming out in that direction. I mean, Pelosi and others saw what happened to Joe Crowley. Joe Crowley was an old Irish Catholic congressman from the New York City area, and he got his head handed to him by a really attractive young woman by the name of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And there's some fear that Nancy Pelosi's longtime aides, like Ways and Means Chairman Richard Neal of Massachusetts, Foreign Affairs Chairman Elliot Engel of New York, and Elliot and Commerce and Energy and Commerce Chairman Frank Pallone Jr. of New Jersey, who took office in late 1988, they could be in trouble. They could be in trouble. The squad will run people against them, and maybe that's a good thing. I mean, it would be a good thing if they'd focus on economic issues and not the destruction of the Jewish state. But that would require cutting Omar and Tlaib loose. Ocasio-Cortez could have a bright future in the party. She could be a leader in the next generation, but she will never do that and attack Israel. She hasn't so much, but Tlaib and Omar, again, let's face it, they support Arab terrorism. They will support Arab terrorism. They will make excuses for Arab terrorism, and that's just who they are. Pelosi obviously doesn't have the guts to stand up for her party's soul. For all the attention she gets, oh, she's a woman this and she's a woman that, and oh, she's the most powerful woman in Washington. These young people show up and it scares her to death. She starts cutting deals. She starts meeting with them and saying, oh, well, you know, that thing I mentioned about Twitter and you having, 4 votes. I mean, I didn't really mean it. And by the way, will you stop and knock off embracing the goals of Arab terrorists as far as killing all the Jews in Israel and driving what's left of the population into the sea? This BDS movement, even Bill Maher. Bill Maher, I don't know if you know this, but he's kind of a liberal guy. And he read quotes on his program the other night from top supporters of BDS, the disinvestment movement that Tlaib and Omar are part of. And some of these people, top people in the BDS movement, advocate the destruction of Israel. Advocate the destruction of Israel. We haven't heard a thing. We haven't heard a thing from the top Democrats about this movement. And it's time we stop letting them off the hook. They've been up there emoting and crying about Trump, and we're going to do socialism, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And now, what was on the front page of the paper today was Elizabeth Warren's apology for lying about being a Native American. Oh, well, we all feel better about that now. This is unchained ambition. That's what that was. She got a job by claiming to be a minority, and, you know, she's one of the whitest ladies I've ever seen. I like Elizabeth Warren and a lot of her policies, but I don't like phonies. I don't like people up there saying that I was a Native American just so she can claim minority status, for God's sake. I might be a minority. I'm a Catholic. I might be a minority in that way. I actually believe in the teachings of the church. The church doesn't seem to anymore, and they got a lot of problems of their own. But, wow. Certainly not in a John F. Kennedy profiles in courage period, are we? Where a really pretty little terrorist like Ilhan Omar, and don't kid yourself, that's what she is. Don't buy into this, oh, we must accept the differences, and America is changing, and this is what's happened. This is an example of our wonderful progression as a country and as a people. If we let people like this into Congress who threaten allies with destruction and mass murder, because that's what's going to come. That's what's happening. Check out the BDS movement. Check out the BDS movement that Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are pushing. And see what some of these people are saying about Israel and their goals for their movement. Their goals are the destruction of Israel. Nancy Pelosi sits on her hands and does nothing. The presidential candidates, what gutless people they are. They know what's going on. They're intelligent enough to know, but they're afraid of alienating the youthful base of the Democratic Party, who have become excited about certainly Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They like her. I don't know what the feeling is on Ilhan Omar among younger people. I will find out. I don't know what the feeling is among younger people as far as Rashida Tlaib is concerned. I'll find that out as well. But obviously the Democrats running for president have some idea that these people are very popular with young folks, and they don't want to lose those younger voters, because I'll tell you, it wasn't so much the working class people in the Midwest that beat Hillary Clinton the last time around. It was the younger people who looked at Hillary Clinton and saw a corporate tool, saw business as usual. They didn't give a damn about her first woman to hold the White House crap. They didn't care about that. Clinton was of a different generation. Clinton really turned out... I've always been disappointed in Bill and Hillary Clinton. They turned out to be more like our parents' generation than people of my generation. I worked for Bill Clinton in his re-election effort, and what did he turn out to be? He turned out to be a conventional business politician who reminded me again of Republican presidents in the past. The Clintons killed unions. They made it difficult for people on the working people on the lower end of the spectrum, of the wage spectrum. Young people knew that. They felt it. And they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was going to get elected by gay people and by minorities and in the big cities and states. She nearly did. And if that would have happened, it would have been a bigger disaster than Donald Trump for workers, I'll tell you that. Hillary Clinton, like a lot of the Democratic Party, and like the Republican Party, frankly, have taken social issue conservatives, working class people for granted. Trump's doing it now. But between the disaffection of younger people and workers who have seen their standard of living decline for 30 years, Obama, by the way, was a Clintonite when it came to the economy. He passed that TPP without a thought. how it would affect working people in the United States. Not a thought. But he looked so damn good up there, didn't he? I swear, Obama had a lot of traction, had a lot of popularity with women. Women thought he was so good looking and so cool and so attractive, so kind, so this, so that. He was selling a lot of working class women down the river, and they knew it. They knew it. Capitalists are in trouble. Capitalists are in trouble. They should know it. There is a profound concern, apparently, among many advocates of free markets to assume social conservatives would always support them. This is according to Wall Street Journal. Accordingly, free marketers made little effort, and I'm looking at you, Terry Branstad. Free marketers made little effort to show how capitalism complements tradition and enhances security. They made, let me rephrase it for the Wall Street Journal, they made no effort. They were fluent in the language of liberty and working hard to promote free enterprise in terms of fairness. Capitalists thought they had covered all their bases. Besides, the specter of communism, atheist, materialist, and revolutionary kept social conservatives in the free market fold. No more. We're not buying it anymore. This little oversight, as the Wall Street Journal says, had some consequences. More than a quarter century after the fall of the Soviet Union, many social conservative intellectuals are left unsure of capitalism's value. Let me read that to you again, because this is the heart and soul of what I've been talking about for many, many years. Many social conservative intellectuals are left unsure of capitalism's value. Trade with China and the developing world in some cases interfered with Americans' ability to produce, sell, invest, and prosper. Nowhere is this felt more keenly than in manufacturing. Shuttered factories, heightened insecurity and disorderliness, feeding the rise of opioids and crystal meth and eroding communities like ours. In response, many conservatives have turned to government to step in to protect their once secure way of life. The free marketer's first instinct, of course, is to celebrate creative destruction and denounce Luddites for blocking economic efficiency. And that's the betrayal. These arguments do not work anymore to people whose towns are the center of that destruction and who see creative types thriving in areas that reject their values, such as in Silicon Valley and in the Democratic Party. If free marketers don't learn to speak in terms of conservative values, they won't be heard. I don't know. Have we heard them in a long time? What have they been saying? Stay the course? We got ours. I got mine. Too bad for you. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
It's 425.
Loffersweiler Funeral Home is pleased to announce the addition of our crematory. I'm Luke Loffersweiler. The addition of our on-site crematory is another example of how we consistently exceed expectations and deliver a standard of service that is 100% guaranteed. At Loffersweilers, we're honored to give your family our assistance and expertise, taking care of even the smallest details before, during, and after the funeral, so you can begin the healing process. We're Loffersweiler Funeral Home, Fort Dodge, a trusted friend of the family for over 160 years.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Manager David Feerick was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine. When asked about the city's upcoming plans in terms of broadband, Feerick had this to say.
Part of the agenda for next Monday, a resolution will put a question on a November ballot. Ask the question, should the city have the authority to establish a municipal broadband and telecommunications utility? So it'll go on the ballot for a referendum, so people get a vote on whether the city should have the authority to establish a utility. We're going to have that council consider that resolution, and that would put something on a November ballot. And if it passes, then the city does have the authority.
Feerick went on to explain the three options the city has going forward in terms of broadband.
We're still looking at three options. One option is creating the municipal utility, but before we get to that option, we're going to look at whether one of our incumbent providers is willing to either partner with the city or engage in creating a robust broadband system, not just for now but in the future. And if that doesn't work, there are interested competitive companies who would be new to the area that have already shown interest in Fort Dodge now that we're doing this pre-feasibility study, that would come in and be like a third broadband provider. And if either of those two options don't work, then the city has the final option of building its own system.
Fort Dodge police are trying to find a suspect they think is responsible for multiple car thefts. The suspect is 34-year-old Bradley Bauman Jr., who allegedly led the police on a chase early Sunday morning after officers spotted a vehicle that had been reported stolen in the area of North 32nd Street and 2nd Avenue North a little after 7 a.m. Sunday. The vehicle had been involved in a pursuit the night before in Story County. When officers tried to stop the vehicle, the driver, who they believe was Bauman, fled law enforcement in the vehicle northbound from Fort Dodge before driving into a field just off of Highway 17. Bauman is described as a 5'9" Caucasian male weighing around 250 pounds and has the name Jesse tattooed on his neck. Webster County Crime Stoppers is offering a $750 reward for information leading to his arrest. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 515-573-1444. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 85. West winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected. Tonight, chance for scattered thunderstorms, lows level off around 64. Chance for scattered storms again. Tomorrow, highs level off around 75, cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 84.
From the Fox Business Network on Wall Street, the major averages closing lower as geopolitical jitters and U.S. economic concerns weighed on investors. With the Dow falling 173 points, the Nasdaq down 54, S&P 500 down 23. And Boeing is planning to add extra staffers and hire a few hundred additional temporary employees at a facility in Moses Lake, Washington. This is where it stores its 737 MAX jetliners, which have been grounded in the wake of deadly crashes. The world's largest plane maker is working to dig itself out of one of the worst disasters in its history and said that the workers will assist with aircraft maintenance and customer delivery preparations. And Nike will start to sell New York City branded merchandise under a 2-year licensing agreement. The sneaker giant will be able to sell apparel with the logos of the NYPD or other iconic city institutions. The deal is the company's first agreement for a merchandise license with a city in North America. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Heather Rybarski.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
Hi, I am Justin Galvin, retired athlete from your local ball team, so I know a thing or two about insuring a landscaping business. I trust the pros, commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. Get customized insurance solutions that'll hit a grand slam home run for you. Are we done?
A totally mailed-in celebrity endorsement. Awful. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated and third-party insurers.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge, exactly 4:30. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 1st Avenue South in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Sean Manuel has passed away at the age of 51. Mr. Manuel was killed in an accident. Sean Manuel's services are pending. Todd Sassman has died at the age of 60. There will be a private family service for Todd Sassman at a later date. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 1st Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 4:31. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 5.5 cents to close at $3.59.5. December down 5 3/4 at $3.68 3/4. March down 5 3/4 at $3.81 1/4. May down 5.5 cents at $3.88 3/4. September soybeans up 1 3/4 at $8.55 3/4. November up 1 3/4 cents at $8.68 1/4. January up 1.5 pennies at $8.82. March up 1.5 at $8.95 1/4. September wheat closed down 5.5 at $4.60. Soybean meal up $2 a ton at $2.94. August live cattle up $1.60 at $101.80. October up $1.77 at $100. August feeder cattle up 62 cents at $136.30. September up 90 cents at $133.72. October lean hogs up 95 cents at $64.97. December up $132 at $64.17. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
The Environmental Working Group has released a report saying it found traces of the herbicide glyphosate in nearly 20 oat-based cereals and snacks in a new round of testing that the group commissioned. Should you be concerned? I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Bill Reeves, the Global Health and Safety Issues Management Lead with Bayer Crop Science, says consumers should not be concerned. He says glyphosate and other crop products are tested by the U.S. EPA. The EPA has established a threshold for residue testing, and Reeves says because of advances in technology, it can detect traces of glyphosate as small as 1/billionth of a gram. Reeves says the reports from the Environmental Working Group mistakenly say that glyphosate is cancer-causing, which he says scares consumers. The EPA has confirmed glyphosate is not carcinogenic.
You'd have to eat your body weight in cereal every day for life to even reach just the regulatory limit.
But Allie Mammaleader, the Director of Business Strategy with Organic Traditions, says she is still concerned that there are traces of glyphosate found in cereals.
I think it's definitely still concerning to me. I think having any trace of these toxic chemicals is unacceptable. The report is concerning.
She says there are alternative cereals to try instead that are sorghum-based. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Come closer. I want your rack. Your great, big,
Rack.
Stop dreaming about big racks and put one on your wall. Head for the Iowa Outdoor Store for a full line of accessories for your bow. Bring it in with you and they'll make sure it's ready for the season. Need a new bow? Then check out the new Hoyt Carbon RX3, the aluminum helix, and the Matthews Vertex bow. They even have entry-level bows starting at just $2.99. Make your big rack dreams come true with help from the Iowa Outdoor Store at the junction of Highway 7 and 169, Fort Dodge.
It may not be stomach issues.
For me, it's intense gas, or pain, or diarrhea, sometimes all at once, over and over.
I spent years with the symptoms but could never figure it out.
No matter what I did, they never went away. So I decided to break it down for my doctor and get really specific about my symptoms.
We discovered that exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, may be the reason for my stomach issues.
EPI is caused by my pancreas. It leads to diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools. The symptoms just don't go away.
But EPI can show up with even one symptom.
The good news? EPI is manageable.
But to get to the right diagnosis, you have to break it down for your doctor and get specific about the severity of your symptoms.
Visit identifyepi.com to learn more and use the symptom checker to help change the conversation with your doctor. Brought to you by AbbVie.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. All right, if you want to join this program, just call 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. One thing we do need to get done, ladies and gentlemen, is catch this Bradley Bauman guy. His picture's on the front page of the Messenger. I'm sorry I didn't get a picture from my Facebook page of Bradley Bauman. But this guy's 34 years old. Actually, he looks about 44. At least his picture here does. Got a tattoo on his neck that says Jesse. Have no idea what that means. Never met the man, don't care to. And he's got some numbers under his right forearm. And he's running around stealing cars. There is no purpose to stealing cars if you just drop them off or run them till they're out of gas. This guy's got a problem. So we have to help find him. He's going to pop his head up sooner or later. When he does, call the police. Call 911. Tell the police where he is. And by the way, if you're someone who knows where he is and are aiding him in avoiding being arrested by the police, you've got big problems of your own. I don't know if Crime Stoppers can be involved in this or not, but I hope the Crime Stoppers will put a reward out for the arrest of Bradley Bauman and anyone else helping Bradley Bauman. We can't have this sort of thing in our area. People being terrorized, never knowing when somebody's going to come along and take their car, drive it into a cornfield or a bean field, hide out in the field all night, do it repeatedly over and over again. Guy's apparently from Nevada, but he knows people in this area. He knows people in this area, and he's up here. Where's he getting money? Where's he staying? He's not staying in cornfields overnight all the time. He's here in our area, and somebody's sheltering him. That person needs to come clean pretty fast. Those people or that person needs to come clean pretty fast because this guy needs to be caught. This is enough. This is enough. So Bradley Bauman, Check him out on the front page of the paper this morning. He needs to be arrested. 5'9", 250 pounds. So he probably as tall as he is wide, or wide as he is tall. And he's lived here at one time or another. He is believed to be armed and dangerous, so don't wrestle him to the ground. Unless you're Hulk Hogan. I don't think Hulk lives in town. Yeah, here it is. The Webster County Crime Stoppers, they are offering a $750 reward for information leading to Bauman's arrest. That's kind of high for the Webster County Crime Stoppers. But obviously it's warranted. A guy like this who has no respect for anybody, who steals cars, runs crazily from the police, he can hurt somebody more than some kid holding up a convenience store at night. He's a bigger threat in a lot of ways than somebody sticking up a convenience store at night. This guy could hit a car full of kids, all kinds of things. He doesn't care. So we got to do something about Bradley Bauman. And we need to do it pretty quick. Again, if you know who's harboring him, if you know where he is, $750 cash is waiting for you. And I think you can collect that anonymously. Or you can call the Fort Dodge Police Department at 573-1424. That's 573-1424. I mean, think of your kids out on the road with this guy on the road. Think of your wife. Think of your husband. Think of your parents. They're out on the road with this character who steals cars, and once the police see him, he doesn't care what happens. The police have had to back off chasing him because he drives so crazily, and he drives the car into fields and takes off through the field. This is not somebody that you and I know personally, and by the way, we don't want to know him. We need to round him up. We don't need somebody like this in our county, in our area. I guess he's originally from the Nevada area, but he's been all over the area doing this kind of stuff, and it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Again, the guy's armed and dangerous, and he doesn't care about anybody else on the road, including our loved ones. Every now and then we got to get together and get something done, and we need to get something done with this guy. I didn't realize he was out there doing all these things, but he's out in a car that weighs a couple of tons sometimes, or a pickup or whatever. And if that isn't a dangerous weapon, I don't know what is. So again, call the Crime Stoppers, call the Fort Dodge Police, call whoever you need to. It's 573-1424 for the police department. But again, there is a reward for his arrest. $750. I don't know for sure, but I think you can collect that reward anonymously. If you'd like to join the program, it's 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. I'm ready to do something with our broadband in Fort Dodge. The rural areas have much nicer, much faster internet. We're charged a lot by any of the providers, Dish, DirecTV, and Mediacom. We're charged a lot, and we really don't get a lot for our time. We don't really get a lot for what we're paying to the providers. Again, whether you have Dish, DirecTV, or Mediacom, you're getting charged a lot, and the speed is not any good at all. So pay attention to these meetings that we're going to have. Pay attention to what the city council is doing. I hope that we can have our own internet capability, our own broadband in the future. Yes, the cost up front is going to be substantial. I know that makes a lot of people a little weak at the knees, especially our older people who are worried about how their budget's going to be affected. We've got to work out a way to get this done so our older people on fixed incomes aren't hurt. And by the way, I don't want to be hurt myself. But it's time to get this done. It's time to get this done. I really, the other providers, especially MediaCom, from what I understand, are kind of talking to the city people, the council people. And be aware of your council. We don't want our council people to get bought here, by the way, okay? We don't want our council people to get bought. So pay attention to what your council person is doing. I'll be talking with Councilman Menke about this tomorrow. I don't want MediaCom coming in or another provider in suite talking some council person. And the next thing you know, we're stuck with the same old thing. We're still paying a lot, and we still don't have very fast internet. Gowrie has terrific internet. That area there, terrific internet. Some of smaller towns in Iowa, I'm thinking specifically of Algona and Spencer, have terrific internet, and they own their own internet. And by the way, they own their own utilities, too. Spencer does, for sure, and I think Algona does, Algona Municipal Utilities. Fort Dodge has really been behind. So I hope you're in favor of doing something positive with our broadband here in Fort Dodge, finally and at last. Finally and at last. If you have an opinion on that, by the way, it's 515-955-1400. It's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. Do you think, here's a question for you, are you satisfied with our broadband and the price we're paying for it? If not, I have a feeling that a lot of you are not satisfied. What are you willing to do about it? What are you willing to do about it? This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and the number here is 955-1400. Thank you to my guest today. That would be Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter and Steve Peterson of the Webster County Farm Bureau. Thanks to those guys. Peterson's really good. So is Chief Porter. They're really sharp guys, put out a lot of information. 955-1400. Let me know what you think about broadband. And let's not forget Bradley Bauman here. We got to get Mr. Bauman off the streets. Get him the sort of help that he needs, because I'm a humanist. I believe that people who steal cars and trucks all over the central part of the state need my assistance, and I'm willing to give it to them. I'm willing to put them right in jail so they get over their vehicle stealing problem. And I might, God, I don't even want to talk about this, but can somebody get the Chicago Cubs some relief pitchers? Can somebody get the Chicago Cubs some relief pitchers? I don't believe the St. Louis Cardinals are on top in the National League Central Division. The Cubs have been there most of the year, and they would still be there if they had some relief pitchers. They don't. They've blown how many games in the later innings? And oh, God. Bryce Harper came on. The Cubs were comfortably in front. They led 5-0 at one time. Bryce Harper comes on and hits a grand slam in the bottom of the ninth inning and wins the game. Walk-off grand slam for the Philadelphia Phillies. Wow. Help us get some. There's a job for Beto O'Shelton. J.D. Shelton, whatever. Yeah, Beto. There's a job for Beto O'Shelton. Beto never really made it very big in baseball. He talks about it a lot, but, Class A ball is not the top of the food chain. 8 years he chased the dream. Okay, I got that. But still, that's not top of the food chain. So maybe, with the Cubs biting it so bad, and if we get a decent conservative Republican to be nominated as the Republican candidate for 4th District Congressman, I think Beto should look at career opportunities as a relief pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, because I'll tell you, I don't think he couldn't do any worse than the guys that are there now. And that's a sad thing. I haven't seen Nevin Mulholland in the last couple of weeks for our Friday afternoon sports show. Devin's a big Cub fan, as I am. But we need to commiserate this Friday on the pathetic state of the Cubs bullpen. The St. Louis Cardinals are in front, are leading the National League Central Division. I can't even compute. I can't comprehend. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who should have run in 2016, but had to back off because the first female president had to be Hillary Clinton. And by the way, I still think Hillary Clinton's going to run. She just can't help herself. She is so entitled, and her husband is so entitled, they think they are owed the nomination and the White House. I mean, that's how she became the nominee last time around. The DNC was in the tank for Hillary Clinton the whole way. Bernie Sanders would have beat Donald Trump, by the way, and we'd have a much different world. But the old school Democratic Party people had to have another legacy candidate. They just elected the first African American, so now we have to elect the first rich old white lady, as if the problems of rich old white ladies were my problems or yours. Rich people don't have the same sort of problems that average everyday folks in the state of Iowa, Webster County, Calhoun County, Fort Dodge have. Hillary Clinton's problem was apparently that we wouldn't give her the presidency. We wouldn't give her the presidency. God. I hate to say this still to this day, but we did the right thing in electing Trump. Rather than her. Bernie Sanders, again, our country would be much better, probably, under President Sanders. But we just couldn't do it. And Elizabeth Warren, again, should have run at that time. I think she had a better chance. She didn't have Bernie's charisma. And she still has kind of a charisma problem. She just doesn't, she has a very thin voice. Brilliant woman. I admire her very much. But she doesn't have the necessary electricity like Ronald Reagan had, or Barack Obama had, or Bill Clinton had. Bill Clinton was a seducer, obviously, and he seduced the United States of America and working people. Then he screwed them, as all seducers do. He screwed working people with NAFTA, and Obama was going to do the same with the TPP. Elizabeth Warren, of course, last Friday, speaking in Sioux City, Iowa, apologized for claiming Native American ancestry. Some of the Native Americans there, as a matter of fact, most, regardless of what you read in the big newspapers like Des Moines Register, seem to imply that Native Americans who were listening to Warren overwhelmingly forgave her. They understood. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. An ambitious white woman used their heritage, and used programs designed to advance minorities in order to further her own career. Maybe Elizabeth Warren's more like Hillary Clinton than I thought. Playing Native American is what made Elizabeth Warren. And now, at this late date, she apologizes in Sioux City. I mean, I would have loved to see her as head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The Republicans couldn't stand her and prevented her from running that agency. So now she's a U.S. Senator. And again, brilliant woman. And I wish her good things, but I don't think she's going to be the one for President of the United States. Unfortunately, her time has passed. Unfortunately for Elizabeth Warren, she stepped aside for Hillary Clinton, because that's what they do in the Democratic Party. There's a lot of that. If you worked in the party a long time, as Hillary Clinton did, and her husband, and by the way, Bill and Hillary Clinton were definitely out there making the case that they were the reasons that the Democratic Party had come back from the dead. They had cut loose working people. They had appealed to the educated middle class, and they brought a lot of new voters into the party who had been voting Republican for financial reasons. Yes. You can believe, you can be a feminist, you can believe in gay marriage and abortion on demand, and still vote for your economic interest, because a lot of the middle class folks, they're little capitalists in their hearts. They're not socialists like Bernie Sanders. They're not at all. So Elizabeth should have run. Elizabeth should have run then. The Democratic Party might have destroyed her, I understand, because they were locked into Hillary Clinton all the way, because, the Republicans had put forward Donald Trump. A new guy, we hired a new guy here, Noah. Noah, come over here to the microphone. Come here. Noah, no. This microphone right here, buddy. There you go. Yeah. You ever been on the radio before?
Nope.
But you work at a radio station.
Yep.
It's time you got on air, Noah. What's your full name?
Noah Linder.
Noah Linder. What do you do here, Noah?
I'm the webmaster and do the traffic.
Do the traffic? You mean you schedule the commercials?
Schedule the commercials and.
You got to do that? Well, then Barb downstairs, Barb Dennis, doesn't do anything but sit in the office, right?
She does the big stations.
She does the big stations. You do this one, though, right?
Yep.
This is the smallest station in the building.
No, that's KTLB, I think.
KTLB is. You mean I'm bringing in a lot of revenue over here on KVFD. KVFD is the oldest station, I can tell you that. It's older than all the FMs. And I think it's probably older than KWMT. So, how long you worked here?
4 months.
4 months. Where are you from?
Fort Dodge.
Fort Dodge, and you went to which school?
St. Edmund.
And you went. Did you have post-graduation training of any kind?
I went to Iowa Central, but not for anything radio related.
Yeah. Well, you went for internet training or something, or
liberal arts.
Liberal arts.
Yeah, I was going for.
This is talk radio. We don't say liberal here. Okay, that's fine. Liberal arts, and you just went to school because that was the thing to do.
I was planning on getting my degree for computer science, and then I went down to Iowa State, but then I ended up moving back here because daycare down in Ames is ridiculously expensive.
You have children?
Yeah, one daughter.
One daughter? Are you a married guy or?
Fiance.
Fiance. Okay. So are you a single parent then, or?
No.
No.
It's our daughter together.
Yeah, right. Okay, okay, so you're shacked up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I was shacked up for myself for quite a long time, actually. Well, that's terrific. How have you enjoyed working at a radio station?
I love it.
Okay. You want to be on the air more? You can come over here. I'll probably only embarrass you slightly. No, I never intend to embarrass anyone, but I'm glad that you're here and like it.
Yeah.
Bring your little one and your fiance around sometime. We'll put them on the radio.
I will.
My son is 37 now, and I had him on the air when he was like 3 months old. And I introduced him, and he burped right in the microphone. A great big milk group. Thanks for stopping by there, Noah.
Yeah.
All right, that's Noah Linder, one of the new people here at our radio station. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You're listening to KVFD in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Thank you very much. We'll talk with you tomorrow. Jeremy Taylor will be here. We'll have someone from the pork producers, and of course, Minky makes his appearance. This is AM 1400 KVFD. Thanks again.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge. AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Keeping up the pressure. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump calling on the Fed to cut interest rates, and he says the administration is looking at tax cut proposals as the key to a healthy economy.
The president didn't want to talk about recession. He wanted to talk about things that he believes that he might be able to do, and specifically things that the Fed could do to stop us from going into one.
I think the word recession is a word that's inappropriate because it's just a word that the certain people, I'm going to be kind, certain people in the media are trying to build up because they'd love to see a recession. We're very far from a recession.
The president very critical of Jerome Powell and what the Fed has been doing, believing that they overshot the mark last year.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House on China. The president saying the trade standoff was necessary and will benefit the U.S. in the long term. On gun control, the NRA confirms President Trump called its president, Wayne LaPierre, this afternoon and assured him that universal background checks are off the table. New charges against the man accused of killing a Utah college student in June as another woman comes forward claiming he sexually assaulted her. Fox's Steve Rappaport has more live.
Lisa, the woman told authorities she met Ayula Ajayi on a dating app last year, and he sexually abused her after she went to his home to have dinner with him. The victim says Ajayi began kissing her and became more aggressive after she tried to get him to stop. The woman reporting the crime after prosecutors charged Ajayi with the kidnapping and murder of Mackenzie Lewick. Authorities accused the 31-year-old of trying to burn Lewick in his backyard before burying her remains in a canyon. Ajayi also faces multiple counts of sexual exploitation of a minor after prosecutors say investigators found child pornography on his computer. Lisa.
Thanks, Steve. Wall Street, the close. The Dow lost 173. The Nasdaq fell 54. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Let's talk credit card debt for a minute. If you feel you're carrying too much of it, you're not alone. The average household in the U.S. carries over $8,000 in credit card debt. Ready for some good news? With a cash-out refinance from Quicken Loans, you can quickly and easily put some of the equity in your home to good use by paying off a lot of that high-interest credit card debt. A great way to take cash out is with our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%, APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN to learn how taking cash out with a 30-year fixed mortgage might be the right solution for you. And for a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rates subject to change. Pay 0.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Maryland man under
your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierick was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Devine. When asked about the city's upcoming plans in terms of broadband, Fierick had this to say.
Part of the agenda for next Monday, a resolution will put a question on a November ballot. Ask the question, should the city have the authority to establish a municipal broadband and telecommunications utility? So it'll go on the ballot for a referendum. So people will get a vote on whether the city should have the authority to establish a utility. We're going to have that council consider that resolution, and that would put something on a November ballot. And if it passes, then the city does have the authority.
Fierick went on to explain the three options the city has going forward in terms of broadband.
We're still looking at three options. One option is creating the municipal utility, but before we get to that option, we're going to look at whether one of our incumbent providers is willing to either partner with the city or engage in creating a robust broadband system, not just for now but in the future. And if that doesn't work, there are interested competitive companies who would be new to the area that have already shown interest in Fort Dodge now that we're doing this pre-feasibility study, that would come in and be like a third broadband provider. And if either of those two options don't work, then the city has the final option of building its own system.
Fort Dodge police are trying to find a suspect they think is responsible for multiple car thefts. The suspect is 34-year-old Bradley Bauman Jr., who allegedly led the police on a chase early Sunday morning after officers spotted a vehicle that had been reported stolen in the area of North 32nd Street and 2nd Avenue North a little after 7 a.m. Sunday. The vehicle had been involved in a pursuit the night before in Story County. When officers tried to stop the vehicle, the driver, who they believe was Bauman, fled law enforcement in the vehicle northbound from Fort Dodge before driving into a field just off of Highway 17. Bauman is described as a 5'9" Caucasian male weighing around 250 pounds and has the name Jesse tattooed on his neck. Webster County Crime Stoppers is offering a $750 reward for information leading to his arrest. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 5